I don't believe in wasting the audience's time, so you can find the completed predictive tier list in front of you. Obviously, this will change after tournament games are played, but most of the tournaments have been cancelled because of how bad this patch is. There's no SDL monthly this month, and there was reduced attendance last month. The only, like, Emperor Nate stopped doing his tournaments a long time ago. The only tournament I know of is the Cadian 2v2 tournament. They're called like Cadian Officers Club, and they're doing a 2v2 tournament. YS hasn't hosted any tournaments. This patch really isn't very good. So, what are the cliff notes of the patch? Basically, I call it Russian roulette balance because random things are just bad now. Some of them were bad and got worse, but some of them were good and are now terrible. So IFVs, which were ruined in the Victor update some 2 months ago, are now even worse. I'm not joking. They're useless. If you're an IFV division, you're useless. That is why 39Y, 79Y, and 1st Armoured are at the bottom here. They really do rely on their IFVs. Whereas 2nd Panzer, Grenadier, and 5th Panzer, they do get Marders, but that you can build the whole division without bringing a single Marder, which is what I do now. It's what everybody else does. Satchel charges now hurt their users. So if you throw a satchel charge, you will hurt yourself at the maximum range, and obviously usually you're within maximum range, so you'll hurt yourself more. So every div in the game has been nerfed because they all get satchels, right? And they all hurt themselves when they throw their satchels. And anybody with an autocannon has been nerfed because autocannons are useless now. You're beginning to understand why everybody's in the nerfed box. All MLRS got nerfed. All multiple launch rocket systems got nerfed. Every single one of them. Some of it, like the Urigan and the Burrito, are still useful because they were only... Well, they were nerfed, but they were quite good before, so they're still useful. All infantry SMGs are useless now. So that includes the carbines, so the SAS. Try SAS against infantry, you'll see. I know the accuracy looks the same on the stat card. It's not. It's far lower now because they've just changed the way that the stat card displays accuracy. So the accuracy is actually like 1/4 of what it was before. Vopos can quite happily shoot at a building with a guy inside, and we tested it for 10 minutes, and the guy inside didn't lose 1 HP, and it was an 11-man squad. So that means that it would take at least 110 minutes for that Vopos to kill that unit. So, and the video's on my channel, you can check it out. I'm not making this up. I've got proof of all of this, because I don't expect you to believe me. All infantry MG teams, so infantry 50 cals and infantry 7.62s, those have all been made useless. The ones on the vehicles are okay. The MMGs on vehicles have actually gotten better, but all the infantry ones are 3 times worse now. And once again, that's because Derek's decided he wanted to change the way that accuracy was displayed on this unit. So now, even though it reads a higher accuracy on the stat card, it's 3 times worse than the same thing on a vehicle. There are some things which actually have gotten better. Infantry small arms, except SMGs and HMG and MMG teams, have actually gotten better. So LMGs and assault rifles have gotten better. LGBT diversity bombers are really good now. Plane maneuverability got a little bit better. I don't think it's enough, but it's a little bit better. And yeah, vehicle MMGs, so something like a Saxon with its 7.62 on the top, they're actually quite a bit better now. And tube artillery, so light howitzers, heavy howitzers, and mortars, they all got buffed. And finally, plain nose guns got nerfed, which is good. And you can no longer reliably just kill an armored helo in one pass with a Mirage. It'll happen sometimes anyway, it just depends whether or not the infrared missile hits. But yeah, that's about it for the summary. So basically, the overall meta is kind of the same as last time, where it's about infantry with cheap fire support that isn't an IFV. So an M113A3 with its 50 cal is really good fire support. In fact, IFVs have been nerfed so much now that an M113A3 with its 50 cal on top will kill infantry in a building faster at maximum range than a Marder 1A2 with its 20mm autocannon. That's where we are with the balance right now. So, yeah, don't bring IFVs, don't bring satchels, don't bring MLRS, and if you are watching this thinking, should I install the game? The answer is no, don't. I can tell you that as one of the best players in the world. You'd be better off playing one of the many other cool games which are out now, like Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield's coming out properly, maybe that'll be good, although I've heard it's kind of janky. Armored Core 6, I hear, is a very good game now. Or you could just continue to wait for Broken Arrow, but do not play this patch. If you didn't like the last patch, you're not going to like this patch. So, yeah, it's all about the cheap tanks and the 50 cals and the KPVTs. It's all about them, because they're the things that actually do the damage, and that's where we arrive at with our current tier list. Also, helicopters are alright. SPAG, self-propelled anti-aircraft gun, the gun AA, that got nerfed a little bit. And with the plain nose guns being nerfed, you can no longer just snipe any helicopter anywhere on the map. And so armored attack helicopters are actually really good now. And yeah, there are competing metas at play. One way of doing things is to get your KPVTs and your 50 cals and your infantry. Infantry actually damage other infantry now. It's still very based around squad size and how many, but now it's based around how many light machine guns you bring as well. So that's why 8th is the big winner this patch. They can, as it was last patch, the mech rifles, even though their availability has been nerfed, we'll get on to the full patch notes. Basically, like, availability across the board has gotten worse. That's another reason why every single div has been nerfed, because all the availabilities are lower now than they were last patch. I don't think any of them actually got better. Maybe one or two did. So 8th is a big winner this patch because they get the Cobras for the late game. Just basically you would just do nothing for 10 minutes, amass a nice attack force of Cobras, and then just chuck it at a part of the map, and they can't use planes to react. The couple AA that'll be there will be overwhelmed if you choose the right place. But yeah, generally the M113A3 with its 50 cal on the top, good at killing infantry, just like it was last patch. It is now better than autocannons at doing that, which is hilarious. And the mech rifles with their multiple MGs and large squad strength for quite cheap are really good. 4th Motschützen, second best. They get the helicopter strategy as well, where you don't do anything for a bit and then you chuck a bunch of helicopters at him. So in this case, it would be 8 Mi-24s. So in a 1v1, this is tier list is based around 1v1. In a 1v1, this can be very effective, because you essentially stall out the game, build up the helicopters without him noticing, and then just suddenly sweep through a zone and just kill everything in that zone, take that zone, secure it, and then sit there for the rest of the game, and then you win, right? 2nd Panzer Grenadier is still good, generally because German units only bring 1 machine gun per squad. They're not as good as like Mech Rifles Law or Motschützen or Airborne on 82nd, but they still get the really good cheap fire support in the form of the Leopard 1 spam. And yeah, you basically just play them the exact same way you played them last patch. 82nd are really good now. They can do the helicopter thing, and all of their units, their availabilities went down. Once again, everybody's availability's gone down. But they tend to bring 2 machine guns per squad. So you've got this really high vet infantry that actually damage other infantry now, and they get multiple machine guns per squad. After them, you've got 35Y. They get more helicopters, but their infantry isn't as good. Their infantry only brings 1 machine gun per squad, the Desantniki, but they get more helicopters. They're supposed to rely on their BMD-2s, but that's got an autocannon. It's worse than a 50 cal now. So bring the BMD-1 instead, or just don't bring it at all, and just bring gases and grenade launchers on infantry. They still work. 7th, about the same. I mean, it's been buffed because Motschützen are really good now, so that's something. 2nd UK, I mean, it is where it is. Like, so Tube Artillery's been buffed, right? So 2nd UK can do some wacky stuff with the howitzer spam, the light howitzer spam, those L118s or 119s, I don't recall. But if you face any of the divisions above you in a forest, and to be honest, Berliner Gropers, which is I've put below them. If you face anybody in a forest with RPOs or napalm or flamethrowers, you're gonna lose because, well, you would rely on your satchels, but now you can't bring satchels because satchels hurt the people that throw them. So, kind of situational. Maybe I've put them too high, actually. 5th Panzer's just a bad 2nd Panzer. Groper's got nerfed a lot. So why have I still got them where they are? Because you just build the division completely differently now. Vopos are useless. They've got SMGs. The Vopos got triple nerfed because SMGs got nerfed. Vopos availability went down and Vopos price went up. Vopos price might have gone up last patch. But Vopos price is definitely higher than it used to be. And yeah, so don't bring Vopos. But you build them around Mott Schutzen now. You build Berliner Gropers around Mott Schutzen. So it's sort of, the roles have been reversed. Berliner Gropers is now a bad 4th, whereas 4th used to be a bad Berliner Gropers. So it's a funny way of doing things. Spoke about 3rd. So 3rd, you stall them out and then you attack with a bunch of Apaches. I don't think it's a particularly good strat because your infantry is not very good. You've only got 1 card of mech rifles now, I think, and they come at less availability. So, yeah, Engineers, Dragon don't really cut it anymore because they don't have machine guns. So that's a rough one. 11E gets great infantry, and actually the Gazelle cannons actually got buffed. Wacky way of doing balance, man. So here you have a cheap spammable unit, right? And they're like, oh, it's too effective, so they raise the price. So Darix raises the price. I gotta raise the price to kill off the effectiveness of this unit. Okay, fair enough. Now it's too weak. I'm gonna make it stronger again. Well, why don't you just lower the price back down? But I suppose that would require someone to admit that they were wrong, and that's never going to happen. But yeah, they get less infantry now. Their availabilities on all their infantries have gone down. The availability on the Seige has gone down. That's that little wheeled tank thing, the wannabe AMX-10. But its price has gone down as well. It's also less good at spotting planes for some reason, but we'll get onto that. TKS, air power has actually been buffed. Like, aeroplane bombs have been buffed. So TKS benefits from that quite a lot. But so does everybody else. BerlinCom, kind of the same thing. So the Nighthawk's really good now, but you know, they get a lot of infantry, cool, but they don't get the infantry with the many MGs, and that's what you need now. They don't get good helicopters for the helicopter attack, so I've kept them where they are, basically. 5e is basically where it was before, so now 5e, you don't build it around the IFV anymore, you build it around the VAB with the 50 cal. So you build the 5e around the VAB with the 50 cal. Thing is, when all the autocannons got made useless, that also applies to all the 5e tanks. So I tried using them, and they're just dreadful. I spelled prediction wrong. Oh my god, I just realised it. We have to start again. So you pay extra on your AMX-13, or AMX-30B2, I think it's called, and you're paying extra for an autocannon. But now the autocannon has the same effectiveness as a heavy machine gun. So you're paying all that extra money for nothing. Money for nothing. So they're not a very good division. And now their jets no longer one-tap people. They no longer swoop in and just kill somebody in one pass. KDA, so Spetsnaz use SMGs. So they've been nerfed. And Vopos got nerfed. So KD8 really not a very good division. They don't get, unlike Gropers, they can't just bring a bunch of Mott Schutzen. I think they can bring like 1 squad of reservists or something. I think they might be able to bring 1 squad, but yeah, they're just not very good. And now we're into the totally dumpstered tier. So 39Y, 79Y, IFVs have been made useless. And First UK, might as well talk about them all at once. But no, let's start with 39Y. 39Y. IFVs have been made useless. Your infantry is small squads without multiple MGs, so their DPS is low. You get Sapere RPO, which is cool. So last patch, the way I built my 39Y was I would spam the AGL-17, AGS-17 grenade launcher truck, because you could get 24 of them. So naturally, that's gone up in price by like 10 or 15 points, and the Uragan's been nerfed. So, and the T80B availability went down. So this is a dumpstered division now. 79 wide, basically in exactly the same boat, right? The IFVs are useless. The tanks become less available. And yeah, what more is there to say? The burrito's it's worse, but it still kind of works. It still works, but it's not as good as it was. It takes 5 minutes to reload it now. 360 seconds to reload the burrito. First UK, absolutely garbage division now. It relies on the Warrior IFV, which is now useless. And it has, sure enough, it has infantry with 2 times MGs. But they're either really expensive, because the rifles have the lore 80, so they're really expensive, or it comes in an IFV, the arm rifles, and you can't get arm rifles without the IFV. So terrible division. And if you're in a forest, what do you use? You use satchels. Fantastic. Good luck with that. Satchels now hurt the people that throw them. And you don't get Saperi RPO, unlike these two. 119Y, the Bastion ATGM thing that they rely on, that got nerfed in terms of its price went up on the anti-tank gun. They just don't have enough infantry. There was a small availability buff for them, but oh, and their LGB bomber's amazing, but generally just not a good division in 1v1. And 11th Cav, I mean, what more is there to say? These guys are basically unchanged in that they were sort of made for the heavy tank meta. They don't have enough infantry. Infantry is what's dealing the damage now. And yeah, they just don't do it. And yeah, I don't enjoy this game anymore, so I'm in D tier. So, if you enjoy watching these videos, write a nice comment saying that you hate these videos because people keep telling me to make them, and then I make them, and it's just a waste of a weekend every time, really. As you've probably noticed from the way I've described these changes, if you were paying attention, these changes don't really seem very good. This patch is kind of garbage. It improved a couple things and just made a few things way worse. That's why I call it Russian roulette. Darix is basically just a drunk man with a gun, just sort of waving it around, shooting it. I don't understand his vision. Every patch he just says, bro, trust me, I'll fix it. Next patch comes out and just breaks some wacky new things, so who knows what's going on. But I'm certainly going to be playing less Warno from now on. Right, so let's get started with the patch notes. First things first, added 3 maps. Black Forest, Duel 1v1, Vertigo, Duel 1v1, and Airport 3v3 Destruction. So these aren't in ranked, and I will now show you them. Just love making these patch notes. I'm getting out, this is going to be my last one. Never doing this again. Massive waste of time. Game keeps bouncing around. Very odd. Anyway, let's have a look at these maps, shall we? So, Black Forest Duel. Sadly, these aren't in ranked at the time of recording. So, basically, the idea here was to, well, I'm not sure really what the idea here was, but you've got more zones, so you've got, yeah, so the big zone that was here and the big zone that was here are gone. You now have 2 spawns on both sides, although these two are very close to each other. These two are split, and the map is more about fighting for the town and fighting for these buildings here, as opposed to all this just being one big zone. You got a new area called Foxtrot here. Echo's been reduced in size, Charlie's been reduced in size. So, is it balanced? Well, and yeah, Delta's been reduced in size. So, is it balanced? Well, we won't know yet until people play loads of games on it. And there's not loads of games being played on it because it's not in ranked. So there's the map. You can see the map. What are my comments on the map? I like having more maps. Whether or not this is good or bad, I don't know. And then the next dual map was Vertigo. So this one I have a little bit more to say about. As you can see, the zones that were here and here have been removed. This big zone has been cut into two smaller zones. This zone has been reduced in size. An additional zone has been added here, but in this unplayed part of the map. And yeah, these two zones have gone smaller. So, do I like these changes? Well, artillery got buffed this patch, and these zones are pretty small. So this is just an arty party, really. If you control alpha, there's really only 4 places you're gonna be, right? And so the artillery will come and kill you. Well, I suppose 5. I suppose you could put it there. So you got to move your CV around a lot. Bravo, slightly better for that, but sort of the same. Delta, I'm not sure how I feel about this, because it means that whoever takes this town, like, so before, like, once you, let's say you took the town, the player on this side would be able to get in here and stop this, or he'd be able to get in here and contest this zone. On the other side, if you took the town, the player on red team right now would usually end up holed up in here, and so he could still kind of hold the zone, but now you don't get that anymore. Adding Chowie to the mix is good, because this was kind of just an unused part of the map. So, yeah, overall, I think it's a good change. Yeah, but I think the arty party here will be severe. And yeah, I'm a big fan of losing, because these used to be like +3, +3, +3, +3, and so if you didn't buy 2 CVs at the start, you just immediately lose the game. The enemy would be up massively. So I'm glad that they fixed that problem. But yeah, it's interesting. It's great to get new layouts and to keep the old layouts on side the new layouts so that we can compare them. Last one's Airport 3v3 Destruction, which I don't really play Destruction. Some geezer with a YouTube channel once said that Destruction should be the tournament rule set, that we should all play Destruction. Thankfully, that didn't catch on. So yeah, this is the new layout if you want to play Destruction. So Destruction seems to be about nice big zones. Are you a Destruction lover? What is the idea behind nice big zones in Destruction? Is that better? I mean, at the end of the day, in Destruction, pushing is less valuable, right? Because if you lose loads of units, you lose the game. So yeah, it sort of changes things. Like, I remember it from this side, and there used to be a big zone here. There's not anymore. This used to be set up differently, so like there was like a small zone here and a big zone here. That's different now. Yeah, the zones are very different. Just take a look for yourself. If you're a Destruction fanatic, you might have some comments on this. I don't really care, so I just think it's nice that they're adding more things to the game. Can't wait for a 1v1 cut of Airport, but there you go. So, there's a new single-player operation. We're not going to cover that today, but it features England. AI fixes, don't care. Crashes, don't really care. Don't really care about any of these. Aircraft auto strike. If you use auto strike on your aircraft, then you deserve to lose them. Basically, that's a button you can enable. That means that whenever your plane's off cooldown, the AI will decide what it's going to attack. That's not a good idea. Then we start getting into the multiplayer changes. So there was a ATGM bug, which I didn't actually get, but apparently sometimes they would get aligned and not fire. That's been fixed. And then we've got the classic Eugene, overall pass on pricing, smiley face, 70 changes. And, oh, I've just noticed that I'm not actually showing you the patch notes. There we go, sorry about that. So, we talked about the maps, new operation, code fixes that don't matter. Oh, for Pete's sake. Fix for the ATGM. And then, yeah, wow, 70 price changes. We'll get onto it, don't worry. First, I'm going to go through all the Eugene patch notes, and then I'm going to go on a combination of the War Yes patch notes and my own personal patch notes, because War Yes does not cover unit cohesion. Unit availability changes. So I asked Toucan to add that, and I paid him $20, £20 even, not $20. £20 is more. So there you go. The money that you send to the channel is being reinvested. It's being reinvested into the community because I've commissioned a feature for him to add availability to this so that I don't have to check every single unit in the game to try and find 80 plus availability changes. I'm not sure if this is even true because I only found 50. Anyway, howitzers got better. Yes, they did. Light howitzers and heavy howitzers are now meta in 1v1. To be honest, the heavy ones were meta before. And yeah, their splash went up, their aim time went down, and I think their HE went up a little bit. So yeah, the mortars still fire in a funny arc. So basically, light howitzers are better than mortars now. Most people, I see more and more people not bringing mortars if light howitzers are an option, because even though the light howitzer aims slower, I can show you this actually, can't I? So let's get a light howitzer, and let's get a mortar. So even though the howitzer aims slower, the trajectory of the mortar is so absurd, the way it curls into the air like that, that in many cases the howitzer shell lands first. And it deals more HE. The aim time's only 4 seconds more. And yeah, generally, I don't know. Dyrix just seems to have this weird obsession with trying to link the caliber to the HE, which kind of makes sense in some cases, but now here we have a 120mm mortar doing less damage than a 105mm howitzer. But then if you get to the RM70s and all that, he's changed these so that a 122mm rocket does 1.22 HE. Because it's 122mm. I mean, honestly, Uragan, it's 220mm, so it does 2.2 HE. It's just the most banal, ridiculous thing you could think of. Because, look, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that... well, if we go back to the howitzers, this, right, might have the same caliber, or might have a larger caliber than the 105. Let me just get a Mrs. Tampella. So, yeah, this should obviously have more HE than the 120mm mortar. Not because of the bloody diameter, the caliber, right? Look how long this tube is. Some of that is propellant, but what it means is that your explosive charge is much greater than it would be on a 120mm mortar, right? It's just common sense. Let me explain it even more, right? So if I've got, let's say that I've got two equivalent diameters. So I'm gonna copy this and paste it. Wow. So these are the same. They're the same. You can see that they're the same. Incredible. Right? And then let's say that one of them is a massive fucking rocket. So here we go. And yep, just copy that there. Yep. And so some of that is gonna be propellant, right? The stuff that makes it go fast. Propellant, because it has to go further than a mortar. That's fine, right? But all this is going to be HE. Obviously, ratios may be different in your MLRS system at home. Let's make that red. So that's all HE, and that's all propellant. Oh, for Pete's sake. That's obviously Darix's fault as well. And I should have done the text after. I'm doing the text after. So, and red, right. And then over here, you've got this mortar round. Now, the mortar round, we're going to have to move it down a little bit. This actually goes like this, right? And to be honest, the rocket also has a cap on it. It's got a cap on it for aerodynamics, right? And then this kind of goes like that. It's kind of got this hourglass shape. Great. So, sure, it doesn't go as far, so you don't have as much propellant, right? But the whole thing is not as long. Do you understand? It's not as long. How long is a piece of string, right? This is not as long as this. So even though the diameters are the same, right? You know, 1, 2. 1 equals 2. Okay, I don't know, there's a better way of doing that. X, Y. X equals Y, right? But, you know, B is greater than A. And so the total volume of boom is going to be bigger in the rocket than it is going to be in the mortar. But, yeah, what do I know? I'm clearly a baddie, and I don't know anything, and I'm ruining the game, apparently. So, there you go. That's, I hope you've learned something today about basic geometry. Mortar suppression increased by 15%, great. 81mm mortars no longer useless. This has been a long time coming. They're still, basically, don't bring mortars anymore. So even though the 81mm mortar might have 1 HE now, you know, great. Just bring the light howitzers if you can. Bring the L118. Bring the American equivalent. What's it called? Like an M60 or something? All the Americans name all their stuff M. So you've got the M1 Abrams, the M102 howitzer, right? So there you go. They're stat clones of each other now. Fair enough. So yeah, like bring this instead of this, because the aim time's only 4 seconds more. And the trajectory is such that if you actually park that howitzer relatively close to the front lines, it will land before a mortar shell does. So that's just my 2 cents. Also, it's cheaper. But you got to keep the vehicle with this if you don't want it to get counter-batteried. Having said that, they have 8 squad strength. These 2 men, each of them count for 4 men. Must be because they're brave Americans, but the D-30s and so on are the same, right? So yeah, they're actually reasonably difficult to counter-battery just because of how much HE they have, although howitzer's better now. So yeah. Then we've got rocket artillery buffs. Wow. Pass on rocket artillery damage and splash on par with caliber. Yeah, well, we already covered why that doesn't make any sense. But basically, MLRS all got nerfed. Plane guns all got nerfed. Plane guns all got nerfed. And all planes now turn slightly better. This is actually a good change. Right? So the planes turn better. And all of their speeds went down so that they can turn better. And that's good, because before you'd have a map, and let's say this is your map, and you've got some red for AA around. Got red for AA all over the place. And let's say that these have, this is their effective diameter. Right, so you would be a little planey boy, and you would try and fly in to bomb this guy, right? Let's be in blue. But on your way out, because of the absolutely bizarro turning circle, you would sort of go like this, and you would you would die, right? So now you sort of go more like this. It's still not enough, but it's better than it was. So that's a positive change. Overall pass on plane pricing, 80 plus modification, smiley face. Don't worry, we'll get to it. So this is what the Waryes analyzer's for. And so if you go to command points, you see that there have been 281 command point changes. But some of them are units that are in multiple divisions. And don't worry, we'll go through every single one. Fixed an issue on several plane rocket pods having too much travel. I mean, I think this is where some of them would just massively overshoot their mark. I think. And all bombers got slightly better, so air got a little bit better. And LGB bombers finally got fixed, so this is great. So before, you would try and bomb somebody with your LGB. Half the time it would just fly wildly off target. And the other times, you'd have a little tanky boy here. We're going to draw ourselves a little tank. And anybody who actually plays the game will be extremely familiar with this scenario. That's a tank, and the bombs would come down, and one would go there, and one would go there, and you get these whoopsie daisy. You'd get these nice explosions, and I just need to check if there's nothing incriminating here. No, I don't see any way to dox me from that. And then you'd get your nice cool explosions, and boom, and yeah, there you go. You would miss, but now you don't. Now they basically land like dead on, and they basically both land on their head. So LGB bombers are pretty good now. So that's something. HE bombs are more accurate now. So yeah, bombers in general have gotten better. And then Spags actually got nerfed. Apart from 20mm. Which is interesting. Whenever they say removed sorting shot, that means that the unit got worse. And here you go, changes on 12.7 and 14.5mm HMGs, which now deal damage to light armored vehicles. Yeah, so this is a really funny part, right? So if those of you who played the game will have read that and thought, well, no, it doesn't, because you still don't have a penetration value. What they did was they changed it in the code so that you deal more damage to vehicles, but they made it so that you can't actually right-click them. So what you have to do is, bear with me here, you have to click your unit, click T, and then click the enemy unit. So if we just get another SPW-70. So you see that, and then this will actually damage it. It's weird, I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. That's odd. Alright, technical issue, 1 second please. Alright, and we're back. Okay. Oh, so it's actually quite loud.
Grob auf dieses Ziel ausrichten. Hier Puma sind auf Empfang.
Look, it works when you shoot enemies. There must be some kind of anti-friendly fire thing going on here. Trust me, it works when you shoot enemies. You're just gonna have to believe me. Believe me, bro. I'm telling the truth. Would I lie to you? Honestly, it should be killing that right now. Must be some kind of anti-friendly fire thing. I'm telling the truth. I wouldn't make it up. Got better things to do, you know. Where are you going? Stand there and get shot. For Pete's sake. Right, next time you're actually playing the game, instead of complaining about it on Reddit, try and do this against an enemy unit, and you'll see that it actually does do damage. Whatever. Because I was playing a game today, and in that game it happened. So, where did we get to? Yeah, so they made all of the vehicles with the 50 cals go up in price. So something like an SPW-70 hasn't actually gone up in price. So I'm really not sure what they meant by that. Something like a VAB Milan hasn't actually gone up in price. I really don't understand what they meant by that, because they've not gone up in price. So what about a BTR-60? That's got a KPVT. Oh, hang on. They're transport, so they wouldn't show up here anyway. Right. Let's think of a 50 cal that isn't a transport. ACAV. Nope, that's not an... Oh, no. That is a transport. The ACAV is a transport. the M1 Abrams. That's got a 50 cal on it, and the price didn't go up. Okay, but I think the prices of the something like a VAB may have been 20 points before. Actually, that's not true. That was 25 before. M113A3. Yeah, so this was 25 before, right? And this was... Am I losing it? This was definitely 25 before, wasn't it? Because it used to be 20 and 3 armor, but then it got raised to 25 and 2 armor, because these are still 20 points. So these were raised. Interesting. I'm not sure what he meant by that. Maybe he meant the infantry teams with MGs. Yep, there we go. Infantry teams with MGs went up in price by 5 points. They're useless now, by the way, but we'll get to that. Small arms, right. SMGs have basically been taken out of the game. The guys with, like the SAS with their Colt Commandos, these guys are actually alright. But something like the Vopos now deal 15% damage. And if you actually take them in a division, it's less. Because they're one vet, right? So they deal 11% damage. 11% accuracy, right? And they're just trash. It will honestly take you... I tried to do a test where I had a guy outside a building shooting a guy in a building with the submachine gun. After 10 minutes, the guy in the building hadn't lost 1 HP. We had to abort the test because he had 11 HP, right? And the game's 40 minutes, so there was just no way it was going to happen in time. That's how bad they are now. Assault rifles are actually better. Right now, assault rifles are better than battle rifles. What's the difference? Clearly not a Halo player. Although in Halo, the battle rifle is far better. So, this is a battle rifle because it's 7.62. Whereas... this is an assault rifle because it's 5.56. So, right now... because of the way the reload time works, is what you want to look at is the reload time, right? Because the reload time is less on the assault rifles do more damage than the battle rifles. And the slight increase in accuracy that the battle rifles get, and the slight increase in damage that they get, does not offset their low fire rate. So you want assault rifles where possible. Light machine guns actually do damage now. I know, it's incredible. So infantry actually damage other infantry, so something like a Mott Schutzen is a very scary squad now. Very scary squad now. And the new meta is kind of based around squads with multiple MGs, so them, Mech Rifles Law, they were meta last patch. But yeah, Mech Rifles Law are good at killing infantry now, because they bring 3 MGs, right, and 8 assault rifles. Remove sorting shot, great. And then this is, so they increased the aim time on MMGs and HMGs. I believe they were 1.5 seconds before, and now they're more. Now they're 2.25. Yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal. But basically, this is related to infantry HMGs, right? So you've got your 50 cal on an M113, and I do have a video about this, just showing this phenomenon. But if you actually get an infantry team with a 50 cal, so you might think, well, identical, right? No. This sorting shot baloney, sorting shot for HMG deactivated, right? You don't really see it in the stats. Doesn't really show up anywhere. As far as we're concerned, the infantry team on the left actually has higher accuracy, so it should be way better. Incredible. But it's not. It's 3 times worse. I'm not joking. These guys are 3 times worse than these guys. I did a test where I tried to shoot a guy in a building, and the 50 cal team took 15 minutes, and the 50 cal team brackets vehicle took 5 minutes. So IFVs, we'll get to IFVs, right? But IFVs have been nerfed so much that an M113A3 now kills units in buildings at the same rate as a Marder 1A2 with its 20mm autocannon. I'm not joking. You can do the test yourself if you want, but I do have a video on it, and if you check my channel, you'll see it. So infantry, MMGs, and HMGs, all these guys, every single one of them, these guys, you know, the guys without the MAG, the guys that are doing 7.62, they're all useless now. Even though the stat cards make it look like they're the same as the vehicle, they're not. They're orders of magnitude worse. They're several times worse, which is actually not an order of magnitude, because an order of magnitude is 10 times worse. They're not quite 10 times worse, they're more like 3 times worse. So don't bring these. Take these out of your deck. Every single one of them. I don't know if there's an easy way to just show those. I suppose if I just put a dot. No, that doesn't work. What about a comma? There you go. All these are useless. Every single one of them is useless. If you have one of these in your deck, take it out. It doesn't do anything. Moving on. Grenade launchers got nerfed. So their minimum range has been increased. They don't tell us what to, and I don't actually know, because I don't think YS tells us. AGS 17. Oh, it does. The minimum range is 62 meters now instead of 35. Let's put that into perspective, shall we? You're gonna love this. 62 meters instead of 35. It's groundbreaking. It's unimaginable. So here's my unit.
Einsatzbefehle, Karte,
Right, do you see?
Kann losgehen.
We have to zoom in a bit more. That's 62 meters. And that's 35. So, zooming out there, that's 60... Because this is the zoom that you'd normally play the game at, right? That's 63 meters, and that's 35. You're not going to notice. Back to it. Grenade launchers. Right, so they got nerfed, basically. But because their suppression went up, the American ones that 82nd get are actually really, really good now. So the AB 40mm. This is actually amazing, because the suppression it deals, right? So you need 500 suppression to kill a unit. To fully rout a unit, to fully suppress the unit. And, yeah. This achieves that very, very quickly, even though the fire rate went down a little bit. Autocannons. So they talk about removed sorting shots for autocannons. That's why they're bad now. And, yeah, overall pass on autocannons. This makes it seem like it's better now, because the HE values went up a little bit. But the... Look, if you haven't played the game yet, I encourage you not to do so, because honestly, it's just pointless. It's not fun at all. But I will now show you the new autocannon, and I do have a video where I shoot it at a guy in a building in a controlled test, so you can see how bad it is for yourself. But just for a quick... Now, I know what you're thinking, Hippie, this must be some kind of joke. Surely this thing, which I saw on Live Leak in Ukraine yesterday, firing at 500 RPM, doesn't shoot at 40 RPM. Surely it doesn't shoot slower than a Radan cannon does in real life. No, I'm afraid this is not slowed down footage. Autocannons are useless now. They were ruined in Victor updates. Mortier made them very slightly better. They were still useless. And now MacDonald has made them way, way, way worse. This obviously has effects on the balance and on my willingness to play the game. But, oh, skipping ahead a bit there. Right, autocannons, remove sorting shots of the crap now. Autocannon. Pass on some recon prices. So, this is interesting, isn't it? There have been 70 price changes. There have been 80 price changes. There have been some price changes. Well, which is it? I mean, whatever, that's why you're watching this video. This is the proper patch notes. Increase S-24 rockets damage by 15%. If I'm not mistaken, this is a plane. Plane rockets. S-24. There you go, it's this one. So, are these good now? I don't think so, because the accuracy's so low that they just never hit anything. And rocket planes are kind of bugged in that if you try and shoot something that you don't have direct line of sight on, they'll just fly over it and not shoot. It won't blind fire, it'll just not shoot. So don't bother with those, just use the bombers. The bombers are better now. 5mm SMG. So that's not real, right? What is a 5mm SMG? What is the Vopos one? Yes, that's 7.65. MP5's 9mm, obviously. Yeah, I'm not sure what a 5mm SMG is. Basically, SMGs are useless. I really do mean it. Any unit with an SMG, unless it's like SAS, they're useless. And even Spetsnaz now, their actual damage output is so much lower because the Spetsnaz gun is classed as an SMG, even though it's not. I mean, it's literally, it fires it fires the Russian version of 5.56, which is 5.45, and yeah, they're basically just cut down AK-74s, and they're really not very good anymore. And wow, accuracy by salvo, incredible. Yeah, except carbines, so that's why carbines are still somewhat useful. NATO forces, great NATO patches, guys. The Lynx AH-1 MMG is slightly better now, so that's that transport for the air mobiles which got nerfed. And now it says that it's French MMG. So that's cool. I guess that's how you fix that problem, right? You just give it a French MMG. I'll report that bug after I've done with that. After I've done with this. M47 Dragon went up. So this is the, so this is a Dragon 2, right? So that's 160. Whereas this is Dragon 1, and that's 144. This used to be a lot lower. Because if we go to the Warrior Patch Analyzer, Engineer... M47 Dragon suppression went from 72 to 144. Yeah, I thought it was about 60, so I wasn't a million miles off. M270's got nerfed, so we talked about how MLRS got nerfed, M270's got nerfed. This won't affect 1v1, right, because when were you ever buying more than one of these in a 1v1 game? I would buy it almost every game. But there's no point anymore because they've been nerfed so much. 227mm means that it's 2.27 HE, smiley face. That makes so much sense, guys. Just makes so much sense. Just like how the Malka with its 203mm howitzer diameter has, like 50% more HE. But hey, what do I know? BRDM2 recon availability reduced to 40. Oh, I didn't get these in my. I've been trying to find all the changes to availability. It's impossible to get them all. But yes, these have changed, and I didn't record that, so that's on me. Basically, the BRDM2 is now. Let me just remind you of what it is. This thing. Wacky little vehicle now has ground surveillance radar, which means you get less of them and it's more expensive. So yeah, here's your buff, bro. But yeah, this can be useful because some of these divisions didn't actually get ground surveillance radar before. And so now you get ground surveillance radar, and once they implement this properly, it'll be able to kill armed vehicles. It can already, you just press T, believe me, bro. And yeah, they gave it airborne forward deployment instead of recon forward deployment. They just say forward deployment. But yeah, all of these, the AMX-10, the Fist V, This thing that you just would never see ever unless you were playing against somebody that had 3 games. This thing now is GSR and advanced deployment, airborne advanced deployment. So maybe that's useful now. I don't think so because it's got mediocre stealth, so it's just going to die straight away. But it is very cheap. Green Archer, Vab Racist, Fux Racist. These are just all those vehicles, right? I don't have to show you every one. You'll know what I'm on about. This is so funny, man. Decreased ERC Seigei's optics from normal to mediocre on par with other tanks. No, they didn't. Because in the last patch, ERC Seigei's optics were already mediocre. They were. I play more games than you, I know what I'm talking about. They were already mediocre. So what did they actually change, Hippie? Oh, you're gonna love this. They changed the air optics from 40 to 20. So what does that mean? It means that it can't... You know when a plane flies over you, you can spot it? It means it can't spot planes as easily. But yeah, it did get a price point reduction, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's a funny one. Packed Forces, the Mi-8 MT UPK accuracy has been halved. So, do you remember that helicopter that you would just never see anywhere because it's pointless? I'm like, why would you ever bring this? Well, now it's worse. D44 got nerfed. This is a reasonable change. So this is the one that 35Y get. And also KDA and Untermensch. And this used to have an ROF of like 14. And now it's 10. So that's a bit more reasonable because... Yeah, that was a bit silly. Yak B Gatling range. Okay, so that's on the cheap Mi-24s. So the range has apparently changed. Let's go to YES to figure that out. So the range has gone up by 200 meters. So that's alright, and it's been nerfed. This is worse now. It is worse now, yeah. The fire rate's gone down by like 50%. But hey, what can you do? So that's a great buff, bro. Makes it worse. BRDM2 Recon gets GSR trait forward deployment. Yep. Because it's not in NATO, so I'm not sure why that's up there. I mean, you know, I shouldn't bite the hand that feeds, right? But this shows me how absolutely done Mad Matt is with Derek's bullshit. Derek's is the balance guy. Mad Matt just writes out the patch notes. You can tell that he just doesn't care. Because he doesn't even bother to list them all. Right? Because he just doesn't care anymore. And, you know, he doesn't bother to proofread it. There's so many spelling mistakes and stuff in this. Like, that, like you know, with 5mm assault rifle, 5mm SMG, you know. And it just kind of shows you what's going on, which is that they don't care. At least that's the impression I get. You know, they capitalize some things, not others. They write out some of the patch notes. They state things multiple times in different places. This is, you know, it just shows you what's going on. I think they must be having some internal troubles or something because these patches are just so bizarre and borderline schizophrenic. And, you know, like, Zentrum gets its own tab, but... whatever. And, yeah, some availability changes, smiley face. Don't worry, I know what they are. Some availability changes, smiley face. Don't worry, I know what they are. Schwimmpanzer's optics were nerfed from normal to mediocre. So those were the ones on, what's that, on, like, KDA or something? Yeah, so their optics are worse now. Okay. And Zentrum gets its own thing. This is wrong. This is just a lie. Let's have a look, shall we? Vopos, KDA, GRMG 20mm. This isn't real. I think he means the 30mm. FS Jaeger Metis, availability reduced to 1 card. So let's just keep that in mind, shall we? Let's check Zentrum, which Mad Matt renamed to Berliner Groperungs recently. And now he's calling it by its old name. It's not even called this anymore. I don't know. I feel like there might be some tension within the company. Let's check the Vopos, shall we? So we're going to open up Berliner Groperungs. And the Vopos, you still get them at 2 cards. Okay. Next one. KDA. Availability to reduce to 1 card. Still get them at 2 cards. Next one. GRMG 20mm. So I'm presuming he means GRMG 30mm, and you still get them at 2 cards, because I've got one up here, right, so it's 2 cards. FS Jaeger Metis. 2 cards. So, that's wrong. I don't know, who's thumbing these up? Who is thumbing this up? I'm thumbing it down. So, that does it for the Eugene patch notes. Helpful as always. So, here are my patch notes. And this is just for... So we'll start with the overall meta comment, shall we? So let's talk about things which are, you know, what matters to you. Basically, the meta is sort of a continuation of the last one. Plain nose guns did actually get nerfed, right? So armored helos are stronger now. But it's generally infantry and vehicle-borne MGs. IFVs are worse than they were last patch and the patch before. I cannot stress this enough. An M113 with its 50 cal, not the infantry one, because that's 3 times worse, even though it's the same weapon with better stats on the stat card because of this salvo thing that they keep changing. The M113 A3 kills infantry at max range faster than a Marder 1A2 Milan with its 20mm autocan. So the patch is all about infantry with lots of MGs, like Mech Rifles Law. Spoke about this briefly before, didn't we? Mech Rifles Law and no, not Moto Stroke at all. Mott Schutzen. These guys are good now, right? They're really good. Mott Schutzen especially now are really strong. Airborne. All those American airborne squads, they're all really good because they all bring 2 MGs. The SAW is better than the M60. Even though the M60 is high caliber, the SAW's just better. It's just... What's the best MG in the game, hippie? It is... the Bren. No, I'm not joking. The L4A4 NATO-chambered Bren is the best MG in the game. It is what it is. Basically, this is the same as the one the Mott Schutzen get. Because the way it works is it's fed by a magazine, so it's better. That's just Eugene logic. And it's 7.62, so it does more damage. So you see that the only difference between the Bren and the other one is that the HE and the suppression are doubled, and that's because the Mott Schutzen team bring 2. So rather than double the fire rate, they double the damage. Which, yeah, okay, that's one way of doing it. But if you're gonna do that, then why does it bring twice as much ammo? So, yeah, it's all about the infantry and the MGs and armored helos and cheap tanks because IFVs are useless. Things which are useless now. So, I made a bunch of videos just showing these changes one at a time, but basically, Derek's like a drunk man with a shotgun. It's just... he's basically just playing Russian roulette with the game. So, random things are just useless now. All satchel charge infantry damage themselves. I know you're not going to believe me, so I've got to show you. So these guys have Saperi. They damage themselves at max range. They damage themselves. So if you're bringing satchels now, you're just misinformed, right? You haven't figured it out yet. That you're hurting yourself. Why are you hitting yourself? So maximum range, right? 150 meters. So we're shooting at maximum range. That's weird, isn't it? We're taking damage. Doesn't make any sense. Let's reload. Which takes 15 seconds now. Oh, that guy just got yeeted, dude. He didn't fly so good. Do you see that? Let's see that again. That was pretty funny, actually. So this next one won't kill one because it'll take him down to like half HP. Yep. Dimitri, throw the satchel. Okay, boss. Oh, okay. 1 second, boss. 150. There we go. Oh, yeah, he killed himself. This man is a hero of the Soviet Union. So, yeah, what is there to say? Satchels don't bring satchels anymore. MLRS is basically useless now. The RM70 got nerfed, which was bad before, it's worse now. The Grad got nerfed, it was bad before, it's worse now. The Uragan and Burrito were nerfed, but the Burrito's aim time went down, which is interesting. All their aim times went down. But yeah, they're worse, but they're still all right. And yeah, infantry SMG is basically useless. So if you're a big girl squad, BGS, maybe the MP5A3 is actually still alright, because that's high accuracy, so maybe that shouldn't be there. But actually, if you get, what is it called, PSSCB, the tutorial's incompletable, by the way. Yeah, so never mind, it's the same. These are useless. Even though it looks good on the stat card, they're useless. These are useless. So anybody that's bringing an SMG, just take them out your deck. And we already spoke about infantry MG teams. All infantry MG teams are useless because of this sorting shot bollocks that they decided to put into the game. So all of these are useless. Even though... Okay, this is a vehicle one, right? Even though the stat card makes it look like the infantry one is better and it's more expensive, it's 3 times worse because of this sorting shot thing that they removed. So this is why they don't explain the changes to you, because the changes don't make any sense, and I don't think they understand them now themselves. Things which are better. Infantry small arms except SMGs are actually better. So for those of you who've been wondering, why, Hippie, are you uploading a video every day complaining, just showing a problem with the game? Because the one video like that I made last patch actually got small arms fixed. Or at least I think it got small arms fixed. I made the video, they fixed it. So why don't I just make videos on everything and see if they just fix everything? LGBT diversity bombers, they're really good now. You know, like the Nighthawk. Well, to be honest, it's something like the F-16 LGB. These things are really good now because of the accuracy on this. These don't go either side of the tank anymore. They kill the tank. It's good stuff. Plane maneuverability got a little bit better. It still needs a lot more, but it got a little bit better. Vehicles with MMGs. So this is another one, right? So we just spoke about how you know, these guys are useless, right? But if you get a Saxon with the same gun... Well, okay. It is a stat clone, but just for the purposes of showing this to you, let's make them exactly the same. So even though the infantry team allegedly has more accuracy, it's worse. It's like 3 times worse because of this sorting shot thing. And for some reason, the MMG on the ground has 1200 meters range, and the one on the vehicle, which is taller, has less range. But and it can shoot at helicopters. And this one can't. Whatever. Tube artillery is a lot better now. So if you play 1v1, it's something of a tube artillery meta. What's it called? Like an M90. Whatever. Let's just go with the one with the nice normal name, L118. These are really good now. People bring them a lot because of the aim time reduction and the damage things. And plain nose guns finally got nerfed after, you know, this has been a problem since France was added to the game. Which was like, what, a year ago now? Over a year. I think it was August last year. They finally fixed that. Right, so now let's go through the changes, and in terms of general availability changes, all infantry CVs except the one that they missed, KDA Fiora, are now 2 availability instead of 3. So, I'll show you an example. You know, so these guys used to have a 3 availability one. I think one of these used to be 3, now they're all 2. It's just they missed one because they always miss one. These guys are still 3. Oh, the Vaposphere is still 3 as well. Huh. I wonder if that's on purpose. I doubt it. So yeah, that's the same. And now we're going to go through the divisions one at a time. And we're just going to go command points, because there's a lot of, you know, because MMGs got buffed on vehicles but nerfed on infantry, you know, every vehicle has changes, like, oh, this has changed. But you already know that MGs on vehicles are better and MGs on infantry are worse, right? So we don't need to cover that every single time. But yeah, we'll start with 11E, and I'm just going to get myself a quick glass of water and slip into something more comfortable, like a fucking coma. Right, let's get started, and shout out to Toucan for making waryes.com. I think some other people have helped him, like Tally and some other guys, and yeah, you can see all the patches, and you can view all the changes, either all 688 changes, or you can view them by division, so we're going to be doing it by division. And as we spoke about before, most of the changes are just repeats, right? So if every single HMG team is useless, then every single HMG infantry team is useless. We don't have to talk about those, right? But the command point one's really interesting because Eugene doesn't bother to tell you what is going on. So yeah, let's start with this. So the links got more expensive. Not sure why. Not sure who was bringing that. Not sure who was playing this division anyway. Milan 2 Para got more expensive. Is this because did all ATGMs get more expensive or something? Let's find the Conquest team. Yep, seems that way. So the infantry ones all got 5 points more expensive. Okay, so sorry about this. All infantry Milan teams got more expensive. If you recall, they were lowered in price by like 15 points, and now they're just slowly creeping back up again. The Seige got better. It's not as good at spotting aeroplanes now, but I'm not sure why you'd use it for that. The Seige is that not very good tank. Oh, that's weird. Sagai. The Sagai is 65 points. 80 was just ridiculous, right? So I think that's more reasonable. Prevost get SMG, so they're useless. Spoke about this. Small arms better. These teams worse, useless. Their light howitzers, so 11E, right? Their light howitzers do benefit from the changes to light howitzers because they get 8 of these, and these are actually really good now. So that's great. And as you've probably just noticed, HM2A1. L1, yeah. The French one's cheaper, but it doesn't shoot as far. So I guess that's why it's cheaper. So, okay, fair enough. And yeah, the mortar got better. Small arms, small arms, small arms, small arms. If you're bringing satchel charges, you are an idiot. Do not bring satchel charges. Satchel charges hurt their users. Reservists get SMGs, so they're useless now. Air mobiles. Paras SAS, snipers. Looking for command points. VBL Milan went up in price by 5 points. This is the better version of the Para Milan. But it's got less availability. So if you recall, this is 60 now, right? And this is also 60 now. We'll get to that. And the VBL Milan's way better. Way better. But the difference is that it's only got 4 availability. Whereas this has 9. But yes, the Milan has gone up 5 points. The Recon one has gone up 10 points. You know this thing that nobody was bringing? Well, it would have been really good this patch because it's got a 50 cal on it and 50 cals on vehicles, not on infantry. 50 cals on vehicles deal the same amount of damage as an IFV. Or an IFV autocannon. But yeah, so the price of that has gone up. Okay, not sure who would bring this when you can just get these guys with this, and that's got a 50 cal on it. Right, so sadly there's no way of viewing this without that being there. But yeah, you're paying 15 more points for very good optics, I guess. Don't bring the VBL Rico. VLRA Milan went up by 20 points. This is the one nobody brings. So what's the deal with this? Well, you might say twice as many Milan 2s. The issue is that it's got mediocre stealth. When you fire an ATGM, while it's in the air, for the entire duration it's in the air, you lose 1 level of stealth. So when it's firing, it's got bad stealth. So it's useless, right? But the Milan Paras is good, so when it's firing, it's got mediocre stealth. So nobody brings a VLRA Milan, so naturally it costs 10 points more. And yeah, this is a funny thing, right? So because all the autocannons were changed, the Gazelle cannon actually won from this because its HE went up by 50%, more than 50%. but its fire rate went down by like 20%. So this is actually more powerful now. This is the recon variant. The Hot 2 ones, all of the airborne ATGMs went up by 5 points. Like the Gazelle Hot 2 is 5 points more expensive. The Gazelle Hot's 5 points more expensive. This is the recon helicopter, which came down in price. It is really slow. I was playing this division the other day. Hang on, is that the right one? Let me check 5e. Maybe I'm on about something else. Yeah, Alouette, 162 kilometers an hour. That's crazy. Was it like that this last patch? Anyway. Yeah, so plane changes. So the Jaguar HE bomber went up in price, which is good because it was one of the strongest bombers in the game, and it's 210 points. But its bombs are better now, and obviously all planes are slightly slower, and they turn better, as we spoke about in the Eugene patch notes. The Jaguar rocket, which nobody brings, is now 15 points more expensive. The Seed 2, which is a seed and a rocket, is 10 points cheaper. The regular Seed, which is the OP one, was unchanged, but the guns on it aren't as good anymore. And the Jaguar cluster, because this is a high, I believe it's a high altitude cluster bomber, its price has come down a little bit. And the Jaguar Napalm has naturally gone up 50 points, even though nobody ever brings it. But Napalm is a little bit better now. And this is that carpet bomber, but it's high altitude. That's gone down in price, so nobody was bringing that. The LGBT is stronger now, so that's gone down in price. Don't ask me, but it's a lot better now than it was before. And the Mirage 200's gone up in price. So this was that really OP one. I believe these guys get it as well. Yeah, like this was 185. Pretty sure it used to be 3 availability as well. Anyway, 5e. The hot vehicles, so like the Conker's vehicle, etc. I'm just going to take a little drink of my tea. I'll just mute my microphone. Editor, cut that part out. Yes, I'm successful enough to get my own editor. This definitely doesn't take me all weekend to make. And yeah, the ATGM vehicles, like the big ones, went down in price, but the little car ones went up in price, and the helicopter ones went up in price. Anyway, the Hot has come down by 15 points, which I agree with. The VOA is now airborne and forward deployment, so somebody might actually bring it. But right, so this has got smoke, you see, and a gun, and it's 30 points, and it's airborne, forward deployment, mediocre stealth. Right, so for 10 points more, you can get one that doesn't have ground surveillance radar, so it's already exceptional optics. So it will be exceptional optics even when it's moving, whereas this one will only be exceptional optics when it's still. It's also faster, but it doesn't have armor and it doesn't have smoke. So it's up to you which one you bring. I bring neither. If you want GSR, get an infantry unit. And yeah, so MMGs. The Spag got nerfed. This howitzer's actually really strong now, because in the last patch, they made it so that it has a salvo rate of 5, unlike all the other howitzers in its class, because it's a French studio. So if we compare this to the Paladin, which is probably the most popular howitzer in the game, you see that the Paladin shoots less, has less armor, is slower, does not have direct fire capability, and costs the same price. So yeah, the French one's obviously a lot better. Just cause. I believe it's also got smoke on it as well. I'm not sure if the Paladin actually has that. Doesn't look like it. Oh. 5e's not really meta, so don't worry about it. Yeah, so all the autocannons got nerfed, right? And that includes these tanks. So these tanks are just useless now. They're just like really bad Leopard ones. I don't They're really not good. They're really not good because you're paying extra for this autocannon, right? And the autocannon doesn't do anything anymore. So feel free to use it. Let me know how you get on. Yeah, the Milan 2 went up in price by 5 points. What else? What else? So commandos don't actually have, unlike a lot of these other special forces, this is actually an assault rifle. So these guys are actually really good now. They were good before, but they're gooder. This goes up even though it's useless now. Yeah, this is useless. Spoke about that. Reservists, don't bring them. Don't bring them anymore. It's just not worth it. Grenadier Vault. Oh, I forgot to do the availability changes. Well, we'll do the availability changes for 11E and 5E at the end of this segment. Grenadier Voltigeurs Appelas are 5 points more expensive now. Okay. And the VAB PC went up in price by 5 points. Really not sure why. Oh, I guess because it's got a 50 cal. Sapper's Flammer's still really good. The Mephisto is, so, you know, for your ATGMs, you've got the choice between the AMX 10 Hot, which is tracked high armor, and the Mephisto, which is fast, less armored, dies in one hit. So I always go for this one, because it's better. Because it's got 3 armor. At maximum range, this will survive a shot from almost anything, and then it can smoke and get out. This has 1 armor, so at maximum range it'll die. It doesn't even have smoke on it. So it's more expensive and it's just worse, so I'd get the tracked one. Unless you really want to go fast. Although it's not got a stabilizer on it, so you got to stop to shoot anyway. Vab Racist, forward deployed now, spoke about that. VBL Milan, I think we spoke about this. So this is the, because yeah, 11E gets this as well, so we've spoken about that. Spoke about the VBL Rico. Alouette has come down in price by 10 points. So if we compare the Alouette... Okay, so this has mediocre optics. We compare the Alouette to the Gazelle. So the Gazelle's faster. That's why it costs more. Gazelle Hots went up in price, spoke about that. That bomber went up as well, we spoke about that. The Seed didn't, we spoke about that. This is the high altitude cluster, and this went up in price, even though it's useless, nobody uses it. Napalm plane went up in price, that FIC 200 went up in price. Right, so let's talk about availability changes for France. So the way this works is that this is 0 vet, this is 1 vet, this is 2 vet, this is 3 vet. So when I say that Chasseurs Para have gone from nothing, nothing, 9.6 to nothing, nothing, 8.4, what I mean by that is that if we just go in game here, you'll see that Chasseurs Paras used to be nothing, nothing, 9, 6, but now they're nothing, nothing, 8, 4. So Chasseurs Para got nerfed. Legionnaire Paras got nerfed. You get 2 less Legionnaire Paras now, 6 instead of 5. Grenadiers Voltigeurs Appelas, which went up in price by 5 points, also got nerfed. So, yeah, that's on 5E, not on 11E. Sorry for flipping between these two. And, yeah, so they're now 7, 5, 2, and instead you can get 9, 6, 3, and just get some group anti-char, which are 8. You just get 8, right? For 55 points, as opposed to paying 60 points for these guys. Which may be worth it, I don't really think it's worth it. Sege, so Sege got nerfed even though the price went down. So you used to be able to get like 24 of them at 2 vet, but now you can only get 12. So that's pretty sad. It is what it is. So yeah, this used to be 12.8 and now it's 6.3. Obviously there's no point in bringing it at Elite, so you just bring it at Veteran. So yeah, that's not fantastic. VLRA 20mm got nerfed, so now you only get 5 of them instead of 9. So that's on 5E... No, that's on 11E. So now you only get 5 of these, which is interesting. The Celtic, could have sworn you used to get 4 of these. Now you only get 2. So I haven't actually put... So that's one that I missed. X4... Hang on. X4 to... Yeah, okay. So it used to be X4 to X, and now it's X2 two 1x. So the Celtic, yeah, really not very good anymore. You can only get 2. Okay. So I got 4 HP. Plane's gonna fly by and kill it. Don't bring that card anymore. And yeah, the Pamela, instead of getting 6 at 2 vet, you now get 3. So that's this one. You get 3. Incredible. And XML 90 links. AML 90 links. So yeah, you get less AML 90 links now. You used to get 6 and 4, and now you get 4 and 2. 4 and 3. Okay, that's a mistake I made. Apologies. Make your own one if you want. And the VBL Rico, which got nerfed on price, has now been also nerfed on availability, so you get less of those. Celtic's crap now. So yeah, don't play 11-y. And yeah, that about does it for the availability on these guys. So let's go to Berlin Command. Yeah, so their Milan went up in price. Nothing else is really... Oh yeah, the FV432 Raden, which is useless, is now 10 points more expensive. 50k, which is useless, is more expensive. Berlin Light Rifles Law went up by 5 points. So you're probably thinking, what the hell is Berlin Light Rifles Law? So you get Berlin Rifles, right? And they're the guys with the recoilless rifle. You can also get Berlin Light Rifles Law, which is 50 points for 10 men. And it used to be 45 points for 10 men. So, if you compare them to Jaeger, very popular unit these days. Jaeger get 1 more man, a better rocket launcher, and 1 less MG for 5 points less. So I'm not really sure why that was done, but okay. And yeah, the ITV, which is a tow launcher. So this is in a few divisions actually. This is... What? Okay. This has been reduced in price, and I believe this one has as well, but it's not in this division. Very few changes to Berlin come, really. Yeah, the VAB went up. Here we go. The bombers. So the Alouette went down in price, spoke about that. The Hellam, the British tow one, went up by 5 points, because they all did, apart from the ones they forgot about. The Nighthawk's gone down by 5 points, so you can afford 1 in a minute. This is a pretty crucial change, actually. You might think this doesn't matter, but you get 260 points in a minute, so 265 is a really awkward number. But now you can reliably, when your minute income comes in, you can always buy one of these. Harriet Cluster went down in price. This thing's so useless now. But yeah, I can understand why that happened. Harriet HE went down in price. Yep. Harriet Rocket went up. Okay. And this bomber went down in price by quite a bit. That's the one that bombs in a really long line. And I think... Actually, did 400 kilo bombs go up in HE? I don't think they did. It doesn't tell me that they did. Anyway, it might be a little bit better now because it used to be absolutely useless. So at least you can afford it. Although it's you can't afford it in 1 minute. So, yeah. The way I've got my things sorted is by, by race. So we'll go through all the West German divisions, and then we'll do the availability changes for each. But there aren't many. I mean, you just saw that, right? I only spotted 2. So yeah, the Milan 2's got more expensive. The FS Milan 2's got more expensive, and they also became less available. The M40A, well, I might as well show you that now. FS Power Milan 2. You used to get 6 at 2 vet, 6 at 2 vet, and 4 at 3 vet. Now you get 4 at 2 vet and 2 at 3 vet. So that's been nerfed quite a bit. It used to be that there was no reason to ever bring this, and so they made this one worse. So now there's a bit more of a choice. M40A1, so last patch SPGs were supposed to go up in price, and they just forgot about this, so that's finally been caught. So that's gone up by 10 points now, so that's rough. The CVRT Striker's gone down by 15 points. This is the awful one. CVRT Striker. Yeah, so swing 5, 45% accuracy apparently, even though it can shoot round corners. But yeah, we'll have... Okay, fine. It's cheaper now. It's still very expensive. 2 armor's good though, because it means that at max range it can actually survive a lot of things. And then smoke, because it gets smoke as well. No smoke on the UI, you have to look at the unit card here. Feldjäger came down by 5 points. Okay, so Feldjäger are those dinky 4-man MG squads. Well, they're supposed to be military police, right? So if you... You know, you see like... These guys were 10 points, so it makes sense for Feldjäger to get a point reduction, although they are far better. But yeah, right now they're useless because all SMGs are useless. You see that their accuracy is actually higher. Jaguar 1 and Jaguar 2 came down in price. 10 points each, so these are also tracked carriers of missiles. So this is TOW 2 for 95 points. 3 armor, you know, smoke, spoken about this a lot. And this is a Hot 1, which is not as good. And it's 10 points cheaper for that result. So, yeah, the choice is, you know, do you want 20 beryllium Hot 1s? Because you get 9 availability on this as well. So that's up to you. And then, yeah, the Leopard 1A1 went up by 5 points, and its command variant also went up. So that's a shame, I think. That is a bit of a nerf. But yeah, everything is just becoming more expensive. So we spoke about high TTK, right, and how it makes it so there's oversaturation of units on the field, because if things don't die, they survive. It's really not rocket science. And so there's really only 2 ways to fix it. One is to make things die faster, which is what I've been asking for. And the other one is to make less things. So either reduce income or increase prices. And so this is just a natural result of high TTK, is that you will just see, yeah, all the prices just slowly inflate because, well, there's too many units on the field. Well, of course there is. You made the TTK really high, so they don't die anymore. So, yeah, move towards a more boring game very slowly. Everything just creeping up. I think, on average, things were about 20% more expensive than they were when Darrex took over. And yeah, that's just the natural result of high TTK. So the Leopard 1A5 price on the command went up by 5 points, but not the normal one. Because I think it's supposed to be a 30-point difference, and this is 95, right? So this is 125 now. Fliegerfaust went up by 5 points, good. This thing's so stupid. You know, like, they used to be 20, and you could buy 6 of these for the price of 1 Cobra and just put them absolutely everywhere. Now they're 25, good. Eclairs went down by 5 points. Yeah, no one's bringing these, so I can understand why. Because, yeah, they get a lot, and they get SMGs which don't work, oh dear. But yeah, now you've got these 30-point law teams, I guess, that you can send around the back to kill things. Or you can pay twice as much and get a much better rocket launcher. Or you can buy somebody that can actually survive for more than 2 minutes. It's up to you, really. These guys come in a decent transport, though. Because that's got smoke, 2 armor, whatever. It's quite expensive, but what can you do? The Bow Recon helicopter got cheaper. Let's compare the Bow to the Gazelle. Gazelle. So, it makes sense for the Bow to get cheaper. The Gazelle's still slightly faster, right? So it didn't make any sense for this to be 10 points more. Gina HE went up in price. Gina Napalm went down in price, and Gina Rocket went down in price. So that's interesting. Because, yeah, maybe Napalm's a bit better now. Generally, people were bringing the Rocket one and the HE one. So you sort of don't lose anything, right? Because this comes down by 15 points, and this goes up by 15 points. And the Tornado Seed, thank God, this is on First Armoured as well, went down by 30 points. This used to just be so stupidly expensive. It made absolutely no sense. If you think about all the seed in the game, like this is 215, this is 265, and then you just had this Tornado for 295 points. Why? And now it's 265, which is a bit more reasonable. Tornado IDS cluster went up in price. Okay, I never see anybody use that, but maybe it's useful. And the Tornado IDS HE went up in price, which I never see anybody use either. Everybody just uses the F4 FHE2 because it's way better. And the MW1 came down in price. This thing is so difficult to use properly. Sure, it can get cool kills. You can get loads of kills at once on a big blob. You can kill lots of people. But because it flies directly over the target, usually it's a one-way trip. So it coming down in price is definitely good. And yeah, for availability changes for Second Panzer, the only ones I noticed were the Jaeger Führer used to be 3 and now it's 2, and the FS Parmelan 2 used to be 6 and now it's 4. And those will apply to 5th as well. So, 5th Panzer Division. Milan 2 more expensive, M40A1 more expensive, we already spoke about this. Feldjäger cheaper, we already spoke about this. Jaeger Führer actually came down in price. So that's good. I mean, they lost on availability. We already spoke about the Jaguars. We already spoke about the Leopard 1A1. Not a very different division, is it? Spoke about the Leopard 1A5. Leopard 2s are untouched. And the Fliegerfaust, we spoke about that. The Alouette, we spoke about. The Alpha Jet rocket got cheaper as well. And that got cheaper by 25 points instead of 15. The F-16 Seed got cheaper as well. That's 265 as well now. Already spoke about the cluster, the HE, and the MW1. So, very similar to 2nd Panzer Grenadier. If you're just skipping through these and you're like, man, that wasn't a good explanation, just watch the 2nd Panzer Grenadier one. TKS, Milan 2 more expensive, M40 more expensive, already spoke about that. Don't bother bringing Big Girl Squad anymore, SMGs are useless. And don't bother bringing the Pioneer non-flam anymore because they hurt themselves. The Reserve Pioneers hurt themselves. Green Berets went up in price. I think this is very silly. So Green Berets, basically, they've got SMGs, so they've become useless now. They've become really not very useful. Thankfully, they've still got 2 MGs. You would frequently see these lose to, like, Vopos last patch. And yeah, maybe now that the MGs are better, they'll do something, but the SMGs are useless. Like, this is a lie. This ain't right. So, so yeah, what can you do, eh? Because, look, you see, does it show you? Accuracy 60% to 20%. But the stat card will say 40%, but it's because of this whole salvo accuracy thing that Darix really, really seems to care about. Everything he changes it on becomes rubbish. Basically, this is now displaying a different accuracy to what it was before. Off the top of my head, I can't remember which way around it is. One of them displays the accuracy of one... so you fire a salvo of 4 bullets. What is the percentage chance of one of those 4 bullets hitting? So that's been... yeah, and the other way of doing it is, what is the percentage chance of 1 bullet hitting? Right, so... yeah, I mean, what is there to say? The accuracy seems the same, but it's actually lower. Jägerführer spoke about that. Green Archer sort of spoke about this, so this is the... it's right there, actually, I can see it. This is TKS, right? So, this gets exceptional optics now without GSR? Are there 2 Green Archers? Okay, whatever. It gets exceptional optics, and now it gets airborne forward deployment, so great. Fliegerfaust went up, spoke about that. Spoke about the Gazelle Hots going up, spoke about the Gazelle Recon going down. Alpha Jet Cluster got 5 points cheaper, it's not very useful. The HE high altitude bombers went up. These things are quite powerful, because the bombs might be quite inaccurate, but the accuracy's gone up anyway. But because they're so high altitude, AA can't really shoot them very easily. The LGB Diversity Bomber came down in price, and it's better now, and it carries... I could have sworn it carried 4 bombs. Yeah, it does. Hang on, what's going on there? GBU 12, GBU 10. Are they different? In real life, are they different? Whatever. If you know lots about GBUs, I could have sworn they were just called paveways, but maybe these are before paveway was invented or something. What I would assume GBU12 would mean, you know, a higher number better, but apparently not. Anyway, they get 4, so I'm not sure why this says 2. But I guess that's like 2, it drops 2 at once. F-16AT got a little bit cheaper. This thing's really good. I like that. And yeah, the high altitude cluster bomber, that's really useless, except on people that aren't paying attention, went up by 50 points. First UK's terrible now. Oh man, it relies on its IFVs. And in place of like flamethrowers in towns and stuff, they use satchels. So satchels now hurt their users, and IFVs are useless and have been since the Victor update. So, yeah, what can you do? Milan 2s go up in price. We spoke about the Striker going down in price because that was on 2nd Panzer as well. The Swing Fire went down in price. So, that is this. And if you compare it to the Striker, it is worse. Because it has less armor. It is slower. And it does get smoke, though, and it does carry more rounds. But, I mean, who needs 6 extra swing fires? Bring the Striker, don't bring the swing fire. The Striker might actually survive something. Rover Milan Para went up 15 points, because they missed it last time. So that's now the same price as the P4 Milan Para. Green Archer has now got super forward deployment, and it's 40 points. Spoke about that. Is 2nd Inf after this? Good, because we'll talk about all the availability changes at once. Gazelle actually got cheaper. Lynx Hellarm got more expensive. Lynx Beta Hellarm got more expensive. Harrier Cluster spoke about that one. Harrier HE spoke about that one. Jaguar HE, this is quite a good plane, so that's gone up. Jaguar Rocket went down, nobody uses it, so that makes sense. These planes were just ridiculously expensive. The Tornado HE used to be 310 points. It was just silly. Now it's 265, so people might actually bring it because it's the same price as this. Thing is, the Jaguars are... There's no way of knowing from the stat card. You just have to play the game. The Jaguars are dive bombers. They dive over the unit and hit their bombs, and so it's immediate. You can't react. Well, you can react to the plane coming, but once the bombs are away, you can't drive out the way. Whereas the Tornado is a high-altitude bomber. So, even though it's got more bombs... You know, I really do think it should be cheaper. Yeah, what can you do? And yeah, the Seed came down, I spoke about that, and the Cluster came down. So this one, it does a really weird bombing pattern. It's a cluster in like this long, thin line, and clusters don't one-shot tanks or anything anymore, so it's basically a useless plane. And First UK doesn't get ATGM planes for some reason, so neither does 2nd UK. I don't know if that was a British thing. Considering we use the Jaguar, you'd think we'd have ATGM planes, but who knows? Speak about availability changes. After we finish talking about 2nd UK, these guys also got nerfed. So, Milan 2 more expensive, spoke about that. Jägerführer cheaper, but less availability, spoke about that. SAS useless now. Accuracy went down to 1/3 of what it was before. Rate of fire went down. HE allegedly went up, but yeah, and the aiming time is now 1 second, instead of 0.2, so SAS really not very good against infantry. Spoke about the Gazelle getting cheaper, spoke about the Helms getting more expensive, spoke about the Harriers getting cheaper, apart from the rocket one which goes up. The Jaguar cluster came back down to 265, so this used to be 2600, it was 265 at some point, but he put the price up and now it's back down again. HE1 gets more expensive and HE2 gets more expensive. What's the difference? I can't remember. I always bring one of them, and I can't remember which one I bring. Yeah, so anybody who brings the HE1 is a numpty, because bigger bombs are better. So, buffing the making the HE1 more expensive is nonsensical. And yeah, we spoke about the Tornado 1 getting cheaper. So let's speak about the availability changes. Terrier Para's leader has gone from 3 to 2, as we spoke about. Terrier Para's, so First UK got pretty hard hit, actually. This gap should be here, because these are the first UK ones. So Terrier Paras all got nerfed. You know, there's Division everybody's playing. Never sees the light of day. It's getting nerfed. So you used to get, like, what was it on the Carl Gustav? 964, and now it's 642. So that's not great, but you probably won't feel it, because usually you wouldn't really open with 6 of these anyway. And the standard Terrier Paras used to be better as well. They were 964, and now they're 752. 5 to 2, okay. And no one was really bringing those anyway. It just means that they're even less useful than they were before. And yeah, let's talk about second UK changes. So the Phantom F3, the worst fighter in the game, got nerfed. Basically, to put things into perspective, there was a tournament, and Derek's got to the final of the tournament, and then he lost that tournament to Tiberius Rancor. You'll never guess which division Tiberius Rancor was playing. And since then, we've just had successive second UK nerfs, one after the other. So now, the Phantom, the worst fighter in the game, no gun. Instead of getting 4 availability at 2 vet, and then 2 at max vet, it's 2. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. This is a typo, I'm not sure where that came from. So instead of getting 4, you just get 2. So that's cool. Air Mobile Gun Group. These guys got nerfed as well. Their price went up in the last patch, and now you get even less of them. So Air Mobile Gun Group are 752, whereas before they were 964. Who knows what's going on there? And Standard Air Mobile used to be 964, and now they're 852. So I don't know who's bringing these at max vet. But yeah, it's really something. It's really something. And yeah, we spoke about the frog changes. What division are we on? How many are left? I'm like 1/3 of the way through the... Oh man, I really want to play Gary's mod. I really want to play Gary's mod. Oh, I want to play Gary's mod so bad. Let's see how many of my friends are actually playing Gary's mod right now. 3. Oh, he's on Rust as well. Rust's like my favourite map. I actually love Gary's mod. Alright, well, you know, needs must. I have to finish this. And, no, you know what? Sod this. I'll just finish it tomorrow or something. I'm playing Gary's mod. See you later. Right, I got to play a game I actually enjoy for a few minutes there. That was a lot of fun. Anyway, oh, for fuck's sake, somebody's ringing me now. I'm not even making this up this time. Sorry, it wasn't actually. I didn't make it up last time either. I'm just really popular. People just always ring me. Where was I? This wonderful game. 11th Cavalry, really bad div. Don't play this one. We already spoke about the Milan 2s going up in price. The 50 cars going up in price. Jaguars coming down in price. That's already been spoken about. Green Archer changes. We already spoke about that. Fliegerfaust, we spoke about that. The Scout got 10 points cheaper, the OH-58C Scout. So this one actually has... oh dear, I don't even have Warno launched anymore. What kind of content creator is this? I wish somebody would actually just come up with a good patch video so I could stop doing this. But all those guys do is... all everybody else does is they just read the Eugene patch notes and then... I don't know, just... if somebody said anything in their Discord that got lots of upvotes, they just copy that. And there's not really... You know, I'd love to watch somebody just do what I'm doing. So if you want to do that, do it. Come on, replace me. Get me out of here. Just get me out of here, dude. I keep trying to start political controversies, but they just won't get rid of me. They just won't get rid of me. I've upset every single ethnic group now. I don't think there's anybody left. Here I am, with the OH-58C Scout that has a minigun, and that's why it's more expensive than something like the Gazelle. because it's got a minigun. I think 20 points more, probably a bit much. But apparently it used to be... Well, it was also 20 points more because it was 80 and the Gazelle was 60. Now this is 70 and the Gazelle's 50. So that's fair enough, I suppose. I mean, is the minigun good? It might be better now. No, it's worse. Okay, cool. And yeah, the A10 rocket went up in price. The A10 HE went down in price, so they're both 200 now. And the rocket's better. The LGBT got more expensive. The AT plane came down because that was in TKS, which we already covered. The cluster went up. And this cluster is like really, really temperamental. There's no other way of saying it. So it's got that standard drops either side of the... At least in the last patch. I've not used it yet this patch, although I don't see any changes to it, apart from the gun. The Vulcan 20mm has gotten a little bit better, basically. No, hang on, it's got... What? Yes, it's gotten better. These would just, like, drop either side of the tank. And because the splash wasn't very big, that, you know, it wouldn't do anything. But who knows, maybe it's better now. And the Seed came down in price because we already spoke about that, because that's on 5th Panzer. So, you know, this rocket, this A10 rocket, and the A10 HE, so the reason people are getting these is for the gun. The issue with the A10 HE is if you want to drop the bombs, you have to go over the target directly. And you are not a fast boy. You are not a speedy boy. And so if you're flying directly over that target, your chance of getting out is quite low. Whereas, you know, with a rocket, you can shoot from far away and then peel off. You don't have to pass over them and then turn. The issue with the rocket is, check this supply. Excuse me, the supply costs 760. That's time in seconds it takes to supply all these. 760 seconds. That's more than 10 minutes. It is like 12 minutes. 12 minutes and 40 seconds, perhaps? 760 divided by 60. Yep, 12 minutes and 40 seconds. If you fire all the rockets. So generally people were using the HE one, not using the bombs, and just using the gun. But yeah, that's well, yeah, or they were using the rocket one and just not using all the rockets. But yeah, it is what it is. And yeah, we'll cover the American changes to availability once we've covered all the American divs. So that's just easier for me. It's probably not easier for you. Make your own video. I hate doing this. 3rd Armoured. So the M150 got more expensive. This makes sense, and this applies to 8th as well. I can understand this completely. So this thing, this little box. What's 150? This little box, it's like 40 points for a 50 cal on a tow missile with good optics, mediocre stealth, recon forward deployment. And so at the start of the game, on 8th and 3rd, you would just put these all over the map on all the choke points, and you could quite easily do that. And anybody coming the other way is going to get hit. An AMX-10 cannot pen this at max range. That's worth knowing. This won't kill an AMX-10 at max range. The AMX-10 can't pen this. And yeah, so ITV came down, we already spoke about that. ITV is a TV station in the UK. The Kiowa came down, we already spoke about the Scout. The Kiowa, yeah, that's fair enough. So people just don't bring this because it's bad. And so look, it's got rockets on it, incredible. These rockets don't really do too much anymore, particularly if you're only running 14 of them. And this gets reduced availability and increased cost. The thing is, it has exceptional optics, but for 85 points, it's difficult to justify bringing, because it always dies. And you only get 3 of them. What? Who would pay for this when you could get 6 of these and they're not as good, but if it dies, you don't care because it's cheaper? You only get 3... If I see my enemy bring this, or even worse than this, it's got hellfires, I just throw a jet in it and blow it up, and maybe my jet dies. So what? I definitely have more jets than he has Kiowas. So that's that. And you know, they used to be more expensive. Spoke about the A10HE. The cluster plane came down. The F11E clusters have been having a bad time because its spread is quite large and it's a high altitude bomber. Same with this bomber. Same with the Napalm. It's kind of difficult to justify using these when you can just buy an A10 and just go brrrt and just kill everything. I can roll my R's. Brrrt. There you go. F4E Phantom 2 AA. That's come down in price. And the cluster's gone up in price, and the HE's gone up in price. Sure, I mean, nobody... Like, this is my third air tab, right? So I don't really care about any of these changes. Because the AT hasn't changed in price, right? And neither's the Weasel, neither's the Eagle. So, you know, I don't bring any of these because they're bad. Same with this, and this, and this, and this, and this. So, you know, it is what it is. Maybe it's useful to you. 82nd Airborne. So these guys have had a lot of availability changes, but we'll cover the availability changes once we get through all the American divisions. 11th Cav notwithstanding, although we have covered them. So yeah, the 50 cal got more expensive even though it's worse. The 40mm, it's not as good anymore, but it's actually really good. So you should still use it. And yeah, LRS get the M4 carbine, right? So their small arms is crap now, but the deal is that you bring it for the ground surveillance radar. They shouldn't really be in combat anyway. They're an infantry ground surveillance radar. Scout, Kiowa, Rocket, talked about that. Cluster, talked about that. The LGB, we talked about this when we covered 11th Cav. So yeah, it gets a bit more expensive, but it's a bit better. The F16 CG or something. It only gets 2, whereas, you know, the F11, whatever the Aardvark, whatever the American designation for Aardvark is, this one gets 4. GBU-12 apparently not as good as GBU-10. They do look smaller, so I guess less DACA. AT plane went down, spoke about that. The HE plane went up. I've never seen anybody use this. I've never seen anybody use that. But yeah, price go up. Don't use it, price go up. Okay. If you bring this, you're an RPer, clearly, because why wouldn't you just bring the A10 and just use the gun and kill whatever? Or just bring the LGBT, which actually works now. Or, yeah, you could pay the same amount for some 2 7-kilo dumb bombs. That they do, it is a dive bomber. But, yeah, that's a waste of money. And the napalm went up, great. Yeah, I can see lots of people using that. And this plane went down, but nobody uses that because they bring the F-15. 8th Infantry Division. Jägerführer, spoken about him. 50 cal, spoken about you. M150 spoke about this, so this is a nerf to 8th and 3rd majorly, because this is really useful in 1v1. Not so useful in team, but in 1v1 it just helps you cover the whole map so you don't get people poking through. And it's got good anti-infantry and good anti-vehicle capability, and it was only 40 points. It was too strong. Spoke about the ITV, spoke about the Fliegerfaust. Rangers went up in price. I love this, man. So the Colt, the M4 carbine in this case, useless now, really bad now. Accuracy has gone to 1/3 of what it was before, and the rate of fire's gone down, and the suppression's gone down, but the HE's gone up slightly. So what did they do? They make it more expensive. I would frequently see Rangers just lose to, like, KDA Schutzen. Rangers just lose to Jaeger. But he made it more expensive. And I think the reason why is because they get helicopter transport. And you'll notice that all the helicopter stuff's getting nerfed. All the helicopter deployable guys. So I bring aero rifles now because they cost 5 points more for more men. And the law, M72 law's good now anyway because of the suppression it deals. So what exactly are you getting with your Rangers? You're getting 4 less guys, and you're getting a special forces tag and a shock tag. But really, for infantry combat, squad size and number of MGs is what matters, and aero rifles have better squad size. And they have the same number of MGs, although it's worth noting that the SAW, the M249, is better than the M60, because it just is. Ask Eugene. But no, if you see, the aim time's less and the reload time's less, so you put more rounds down range. Even though the HE's a little lower and the accuracy's a little lower, you're putting more rounds down range, so the DPS is higher. What more? Scout spoke about you, Kyo spoke about you, A10HE, Alpha Jet HE, unique to 8th, went up in price. Don't really see people bringing this, but yeah, okay. I guess people were bringing it for the gun to like scout for helos at the start of the game. You buy 3 of these at the start for, you know, and they were only like 85 each. Now they've come up a bit. That's reasonable. Yeah, it can be useful to like slam into a helo and kill it, but you see that the guns are worse now. So you can't. Oh, wrong one. The guns are worse now. And the napalm one came down in price. So they're both 95 now, because the napalm one was more expensive. You can't really block roads with napalm like you could in Red Dragon. You used to be able to. I did it against Darix in a 2v2 tournament. We knocked him out in the first round with that strat. And yeah, it got nuffed. F-16 cluster goes up in price. Spoke about this for 11th Cav. This is the one that drops either side of the enemy. F-16 cluster. So yeah, it drops either side of the enemy. I don't know if it still does that yet. Maybe it's good now. Who knows? Right, American availability changes. So the Meep Abrams on airborne, you lose 1 Abrams, right? So it's gone from 6 at 1 vet, 4 at 2 vet, 2 at 3 vet, and it's gone to 5 at 1 vet, 3 at 2 vet, 2 at 3 vet. So, you know, typically you're bringing this at 2 vet, unless you're a exciting gamer, and so you lose 1 Meep Abrams. The standard M1 has had the same thing happen to it, so let's just show you what this looks like. So yeah, the standard M1 532, and it's the same with the M1 IP. So you lose 1 Abram per card. You still got 4 cards of these guys. That's not right. Not sure where I got that from. And the ITO, you get less ITOs. So this used to be 842, now it's 642. So I bring it at either 1 vet or 2 vet. The idea on 2 vet is that if somebody's shooting at you, you will, unless they're really shooting at you, generally the missile will keep going in the right direction. Whereas at 1 vet, if a tank starts shooting you, you very quickly find that these guys get stunned, they start missing. Gunners used to be 642, now it's 752. So what are gunners? It's these guys with their 3 MGs, so you get less of them now. What's the point in this? Why get that when you can get Mech Rifles Law? Mech Rifles Law for 5 points more. What do you get? You get 3 saws, and you get 4 more men. So Mech Rifles Law, way better. Don't bring gunners. Gunners are a waste of time. But you get less Mech Rifles and Mech Rifles Law. So they've gone from 964 to 742 on both of them. So generally I was bringing these at 1 vet, so I've lost, you know, 2 per card. And I had 3 cards, so I've lost 6. And if you were to bring them at 2 vet, you would still lose 2 per card. And the arrow rifles also... whoops. The arrow rifles also had their availability go down from nothing 964 to nothing 852, so... Where are we? So, yeah, I lose 1 arrow rifles because I was bringing them at 1 vet anyway. It's not the end of the world. Airborne, this is on 82nd. These guys got hit. So you lose 2 at max vet and 1 at 2 vet. So my 82nd now looks like this. 82nd proper meta div now with this patch. Because you still get loads of units, right? I mean, the airborne dragon you get less of, sure, but you still get plenty of airborne. Whoops. Oh dear. I just won't save it. Packed. The 119 Saperi RPO has finally been fixed. It used to be like 2 at max vet, and now you can actually bring it at 1 vet. So that's great. And I will show you that. Oh, yeah, smaller side. The Leopard 2A4 going 211 hasn't actually been fixed, so that's still like that. 119Y. Saperi RPO, you can actually bring him now. And yeah, Motor Stroke Metis, so this is on 39th. You lose 2 at 1 vet, but most people are bringing them at 2 vet, so you lose 1. So yeah, more nurse to divisions that nobody plays. So 7-5-2. It's quite aggressive. I'd do 7-5-3. I'd just import Wargamer a Dragon system at this point, to be honest. This is a lost cause. Paul Machiki, so these guys had their availability go up. So these are the Gunners equivalent for Pact, and they're a bit more useful because Pact's normal squad, Soviet's normal squads don't bring two of these. Wait, hang on. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing the availability one at a time. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. We're now going to talk about 4th Motschützen Division. So the 100mm Rapira launcher has gone up by 15 points. Good. This thing was broken. But, yeah, it's kind of it's a rough time for this to happen, because even though... Yeah, so this has a strength of 3, so artillery actually does kill this. And artillery's all been buffed, as we spoke about. You know, this takes 20 seconds to shoot now. So these are now more vulnerable, and they're more expensive. But this thing, the Rapira, is absolutely broken. Sorry, the Bastion. And yeah, check that out. So the thing is, expert, it's about the speed. Can I compare things? I know I can somewhere on this website. Rapira. Okay, and let's compare that to Amalan 2, something you see a lot. Apply. Expert mode. So the Rapira Bastion anti-tank gun goes at 990 kilometers an hour, whereas the Milan 2 goes at 548. This is too fast. It is too fast. You don't have any time to react. And it's super duper accurate now, and it goes a really long way. And so yeah, these are still worth 100 points. Thing is, you can get this for 135, and this is going to cost 120 anyway, because you've got to keep the transport with it, because somebody will artillery it. So you might as well just get this. But then, this has good stealth. Makes it harder to shoot if your enemy can't see it. This will survive a shot, but they'll see it a mile away. Swings and roundabouts, but it's more mobile. So, where are we? Oh dear. Taking a while for this to populate. Command points set, and we got to 4th Motschützen. I don't think there's that many left. Right. So that went up in price, good. And that also affects KDA and Untermensch. And it also affects 39th, because they get the same thing, but by a different name. Conkers went up in price by 5 points, because all the infantry ATGM teams went up in price by 5 points. BRDM2, we spoke about this in the Eugene patch notes. So now it's gone up in price. It gets GSR and airborne deployment, but it's gone down in availability. So I don't like the change, to be honest. And the Conkers thing, this thing is, whoops, it was right on that tab, actually. So this thing's a bit more affordable now. The issue is mediocre stealth, which means that when it shoots, it loses a level of stealth and everybody sees it. I don't know, it always just seems kind of weird to me that, you know, these are the same vehicle, right? Basically, I mean... And one of them's got good stealth, and one of them's got mediocre stealth, and... I don't know, whatever. So that's come down a bit. The BTR 60 PU has gone up in price by 5 points. I'm not sure why. I mean, sure, it's not got smoke on it though. See, you're paying all this money. Wow, it's got... Oh, I see. It's just because it's got a KPVT on it, and they all went up by 5 points. What else? What else? Also worth noting that the D20 is better than other 52mm howitzers. I'm not sure why, but yeah, here we go. So, same country, same caliber, Presumably shoots the same ammunition, but the D20's slightly better. Get it while it's hot. I know Derek's watches these videos, so he'll probably nerf that. And yeah, the Strelas finally went up in price. I'm so happy about this. The Strelas were just so broken at 15 points. People don't really see it. It's not one Strela, right? If it's 15 points, I can buy 10 of them for 150, right? I can buy 8 of them for 120 for the same price as a Cobra. I can get 8 Strelas! Or I could, now I can't. So that's been fixed. Now I can only get 6. 5. And the forward deployment one went up in price as well. So that's good news. I think that's very much warranted, because they got buffed and their price didn't go up for quite a while. I thought they were too strong. So that's sorted. Don't see any other... the Mi-2 recon helicopter came down in price, so that's cool. Why is it called a bitube? Is it called that on the stat card? Interesting. It's called a bitube. Very exciting. Anyway, the Mi-2's come down in price, and this rocket has come down in price. So I used to really like these, but there seems to be a problem with rocket targeting, that if a unit's in a forest, it just won't shoot properly. So I used to constantly bring these, and now I don't, because they don't work. If they worked, I'd bring them. And the MiG-21 Bison bomber, the fishbed bomber, actually got better. So this thing used to be amazing, then it got nerfed, and now it's better again. Like, the bombs are better because all the bombs got buffed, and it's coming down in price. So yeah, these are really good. They're quite mobile. Usually they get out unless there's a fighter, or, you know, 3 cubs or what have you. MiG-23 MF anti-tank plane. This is the one nobody brings, because everybody brings this, right? But your other choice is this, which is just way cheaper. It's got less accuracy, but, you know, it's faster. Just bring this, man, it's better. So that's gone up in price. Oh, no, hang on, that can't be the right one. Oh, it's the HE bomber. Okay, so this HE bomber, you can bring this, or you can bring the Su-22. The Su-22 is a dive bomber. I'm not sure about the MiG-23 MF. But the Su-22 is better because it's got higher ECM and better agility, and yeah, the guns are better. It's got infrared missiles. It's cheaper. But yeah, don't bring this. It's a waste of time. And yeah, the Su-22 M4 HE went up in price by 30 points. So yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, it was too cheap. And the cluster came down in price by 30 points. 40 points. Wow. It's a big change. So basically, this is one of the few clusters left in the game that will one-shot basically any tank. And yeah, now it's a bit cheaper, but everybody just brings the AT one. Or, you know, like, because you can hit a tank with one of these bombers and it won't kill it unless it's on low HP already, but it will really ruin its day. And so for targets you can't see, you would use this, and for targets you can see, you would use this. And so this doesn't really have a place. But, you know, for armored targets that you can't see, it is a better version of this, and they cost the same now. But yeah, this is like 3 availability, so it's just better. That's 4th. We'll cover the changes to availability on DDR once we finish DDR. Conkers went up on 7th Panzer Division. Conkers went up by 5 points. BRDM2 spoke about that. BTR-60PU spoke about that. Conkers spoke about you. Just keep in mind that these 23mm actually got a little bit better. Strela went up. To be honest, I bring the Igler on these guys anyway, because the only point in getting Strela is if it's like forward deployed or something. Also because it was really cheap. Mi-2 is cheaper now. Fishbed spoke about you. Bomber spoke about you. The AA went down by 15 points. Right, okay, that seems fair, doesn't it? MiG-23... It's this one, isn't it? Yep, so let's compare this, shall we? So for 5 points more, you get a gun, speedier, and it comes into the map faster. It's got less of a travel time. The Phantom F3 is really quite dogshit, and so I don't understand why it got nerfed in its availability, because you now get less Phantoms per card. You get 2. You get 2. I mean, what? And then let's have a look at 7, shall we? Yeah, 3 of these at the same vet. And they're just better. And it doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, they get cheaper. Phantoms get more expensive. Cool. Spoke about the bomber going up. Spoke about the cluster coming down. KDA. Don't play KDA. The rate of fire of the PAC D44 85mm went up. So this is the one that VDV uses as well. Sorry, I was just playing that theme from Star Trek Enterprise in my head there. So, where are we on? So that's 4th, and then below that is 7th, and then below that will be KDA. Yes, so the 85mm, to be honest, just don't play KDA, not very good division. Just sort of a bad Untermensch, really. Berliner Gropers. So, this thing used to have a rate of fire of 14, now it's 10, and so you might as well just get this Big Brother, which is better. And yeah, its Big Brother went up in price, spoke about that, spoke about Conkers going up, spoke about BRDM2, spoke about wheeled Conkers going down. 50 cal got more expensive, or your local equivalent. Strellas went up in price. Air optics on the Schwimmpanzer went. Oh, it's the same thing again. So in the Eugene patch notes, it said that the Schwimmpanzer lost optics, but it didn't. It lost air optics. So it can't spot planes as well, which doesn't really matter. So the Grozovoi went up in price by 20 points. This is good. I mean, this thing is... So this is the most effective supply card in the game, because it's 6,000 times 2, so that's 12,000 supply. The fobs don't count. Oh, yeah, it's worth mentioning, the fob came down in price. Fob's cheaper now. It used to be 250, now it's 235. Incredible. I think it needs to go to 200 before people use it. Properly, anyway. So yeah, this is 12,000 supply in a card, whereas, you know, this is 5,000, and that's normal. Right, this is 6,000, and that's considered high. This is also 5,000, but this is 12,000. And so it makes sense for it to get a bit more expensive. MI2 we've spoken about. Talked about the fish beds. Oh, this thing's come down in price. That's good. 35Y, I get this as well. The MiG-25 RBF. So... I could have just viewed it in here. So this thing is like a high-altitude carpet bomber, and its agility is kind of bad, and so it would just carpet bomb at high altitude. Half the guys will move anyway because it's high altitude, and then it would die. So it's good that it's cheaper now. That makes sense. And the MiG-27 HE went up in price, so I don't really use this one. But I can understand why it's gone up in price, because that is quite a good bomber. And the rocket went down in price. So like I said, the rockets are kind of buggy, so I was using this, apparently, in my PT set. I haven't played this division in some time. But yeah, it just doesn't shoot properly unless you've got perfect line of sight. Like, even if... I'll draw another diagram for you, because this is hard to explain. Let's say you've got some trees, like on Vertigo. Where's that spray can option? So let's say you got some trees, like on Vertigo. And this is a tree. Great, fill that in. Yep, close enough. And you got a duder behind the tree. You got a baddie. There he is. Bad guy. And then you got the plane coming. Ooh, plane drawing. Freehand. So that's kind of a side-on plane. And here's your overpaid pilots. who loves killing innocent civilians. So if you've got rockets on your plane, you know, big Dakar here. If this tree is in the way, even though you can see this man, this will not shoot. So yeah, but if it was on this side, it would shoot. And you see this a lot on, you know, like Vertigo. Those two trees on Vertigo, on the side point, the open point. You would see this a lot, where there would be CV behind that little block of trees, and the planes just wouldn't blow it up. So you'd have to intentionally approach from another angle, but not everybody knows to do that, and so that's why you're watching hippie videos, and now you're a much better player as a result of that brief... what do you call it? A brief interlude, I suppose? Oh yeah, we're on... wait, hang on, there's more. Small MacDonald. Well, it just sort of says the same thing. Oh yeah, this crap again. Yeah, bro, it's going to be part 2. Part 2 of the big patch. Part 2, bro. I remember when Victor came out, we were told it was part 1 of a big patch. And then Mortia came out, and we were told it was part 1 of a big patch. And now McDonald's is out, and we're told it's part 1 of a big patch. Each one of these patches has sort of made the game worse. I mean, it's like fixed one thing and broken two. So yeah, maybe these things will happen. Maybe they will try to make them happen, and it will make the game worse. I mean, that's what's happened the last 3 times. So yeah, that does it for the Eugene patch notes, right? We were talking about the units. Ah, yes, the napalm plane came down in price. So like nobody used this. So this is on KDA. It's also on 39th. Because yeah, this is another high altitude kind of blanket bomber, and they would just die. Like they're just not very good. So I can understand why that's come down in price quite significantly, actually. 55 points. 119 white, right? So we finished. Well, we've not really finished the DDR, have we? Because there's still Untermensch. So we're going to talk about Untermensch and then go back for the Soviets. Here we go. Berliner Gropers, formerly known as Untermensch Zentrum. The D44 we spoke about, it's gone up in price and it's gone down in effectiveness. Bring the 100mm, it's better. BRDM2, spoke about that. Conkers, spoke about that. Infantry Conkers, spoke about that. Strella's gone up in price. FS Strela availability's gone down as well, but we'll get to that. What else? Oh yeah, as part of the MLRS changes, the Burrito got nerfed, which is a shame. And the reload time went up to 5 minutes, so I don't really like it anymore. Spoke about you going up, spoke about you, oh, didn't speak about you. The UPK, this is the one nobody uses. So they made it cheaper, which is actually a good thing. UPK. So, yeah, basically, not so sure about the damage potential of this, so I don't bring it. So if it gets cheaper, great, maybe people will bring it. Cluster spoke about you. And so, yeah, that's it for DDR. So let's talk about the DDR veterancy changes. So FS Strela, now, you only get 5 at 2 vet, as opposed to 8. So this affects 4th and Untermensch. Because, yeah, I mean, it's very rare for people to actually buy 8 at the start, but it does just make this card less useful past the 0-minute mark. But hey, you know, you got cheap AA anyway. Look how cheap it is, so it's not a big deal. Mott Schutzen 3 MGs went up, so this is the same as the Pulmachiki from before and the Gunners from before. So the this is on Untermensch and 4th, I think. And so yeah, basically don't bring these because sure, 3 PKMs is good now, but the Mott Schutzen get the best LMG in the game, and you know, for 5 points less, you're not really losing a whole lot. You're losing a tiny little bit of DPS. But not a significant amount, because the... Yeah, this is the best MG in the game, tied with the Bren. The L4 Bren. So, yeah, don't bring this. Varpos got nerfed massively. If you haven't seen my videos, the SMGs are just useless now. But they also got nerfed in that their price went up, and their availability went down, and their weapons became useless. So you only get 9 of these in a card now, so they're just... Don't bring these. They're just a waste of time. Even if they made these better, it's not worth it anymore. It's just not worth it anymore. I mean, why... There's been a lot of examples of this in this patch. Derek's just triple nerfing things. So, for example, the M270 lost HE, gained supply cost, and lost availability all at once. Why is that necessary? And the Varpos, their small arms became useless, their price went up, and their availability went down, all in the same patch. It's a waste of time. You know, he talks about bouncing by degrees, and sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. It's very inconsistent. Standard Pioneers, East German Pioneers have lost availability. So it used to be like 9, and now it's 8-4 on 4th Mordschützen, but on Berliner Gropers you can only take them at 1 vet, so it's just 8. So that's that. Oh, and they're at a low veterancy on Berliner Gropers. It's probably best if I just show you the 4th one. So yeah, this 8-4. But satchels damage their users, so don't use those anyway. I'm not sure if Pioneer Flam changed, actually. I could have sworn this used to be 8. But I can't remember, and they don't publish these things anywhere, so there's really no way of knowing. But 6 is plenty. Pioneer Agi, so this is on Untermensch. They got nerfed by a rank of veterancy. So it used to be 6 at 2 vet, 4 at 3 vet. Now it's 6 at 1 vet, 4 at 2 vet, and 2 at 3 vet. And the Berliner Gropers, the Untermensch, so you see the Panzerjäger here is like 9-6. Well, in Berliner Gropers, they're not as trained, they're not as veteran. And so... Where are they? Yeah, you just get it at 9 or 1 vet. So that does it for East Germany. And now we're going to tackle the Soviets. Oh, it's almost over. And... yeah, if you like this kind of video, don't tell me, because I hate making them. So I don't want to know. Tell me it's rubbish. Tell me you never want to see it again, please. Please. Please stop paying me to make these videos. I hate doing it. 119Y. Tank Polk. Odds Tank Polk. Presumably the full words mean something in Russian. So this is a bad division. Don't play it. But, yeah, it would rely on the repairers, which have gone up in price. Konkers coming down is interesting. BDRM2 coming down does actually benefit them, because you put this behind your T8EU. BTR60 spoke about that. 50 cal spoke about you. What else? Oh, the LGB bomber came down by a lot. It's actually pretty cheap now, and it is really good. This is the best LGB bomber in the game. The best diversity bomber in the game. The most diverse bomber. The only issue is you only get 1 in a card. But yeah, it's got a cab 1500. Look at the size of that thing. I think that means 1500 kilograms, you know. Anyway, HE45, and it fires 2, now with 90% accuracy. If this hits, whatever this hits is going. Doesn't matter if it's a super heavy, whatever. Whatever this hits is going. So that's really scary now. But you only get 1 in a card. And you know, your slots aren't great on this division. And it turns like a flipping dragster, so it drags itself across the entire map and then it dies. So it's difficult to keep alive, but it is very effective. And yes, the Su-24MHE standard carpet bomber also came down in price by 45 points. So that's this one, and it went from what, 260 to 215, so that's 45 points. Yeah, makes sense for this to come down in price. 35Y. Proper meta div, this one. 85mm went up and went down in effectiveness, but I think you still need to bring it on this division, particularly because it's sort of like an SPG-9, and that also went up by 15 points. Konkers went up in price. The Rezo stat, the Rio stat, this is the ground surveillance radar one, went down in price by 5 points. But you've also got this ground surveillance radar one now as well. So, which one do you want to bring? My money's on the BRDM2. Rheostat doesn't have any good weapons. It's got PKM. This has got KPVT, which can actually shoot armor. You just have to press T and press the enemy. Conkers came down. 50 Carl spoke about you. Grazovi spoke about that. MI2 spoke about that. The MI8 also came down. So all the recon helicopters have come down, basically. This is the good one. All the unarmed recon helicopters have come down. Where are you? It used to be 80, now it's 70. Great. The seed plane came down. This thing turns like a brick as well. And so that getting cheaper makes sense. Spoke about the carpet bomber coming down. 45 points. I think I accidentally said it was 55 at some point before. This has come down by 35 points. The LGB bomber. This used to be 410. Do you remember that? But it's actually affordable now, and it's actually very good. Where is it? So, yeah. It is good and affordable. Hitchy bomber went up. Spoke about this on KDA. The C-25AT went up in price, so this kind of makes sense. It is very powerful. Oh, and the MiG-29 AA2 went down in price. So, yeah, it was kind of weird that the worst MiG-29 cost the same as the better one. But, yeah, it's sort of an absurdity, actually. MiG-29 AA2. And you just compare that to the Phantom, which now comes at 2 availability. Yeah. I'd rather have the MiG-29 if I'm being honest, because it's faster, and it's got a gun. And that's all there is to it. I mean, it's got less missiles, but the missiles it has are better. Like, the R-27 is way better than the Skyflash. Might actually catch what it's trying to get. So, yeah, that's that. This is probably another interesting comparison. So the F4E actually has 7 missiles, which is interesting. But I'd still rather take the MiG-29. I think it's the most cost-efficient fighter in the game. This one is, anyway. So yeah, Su-25AT went up. That makes sense. 39Y. This division's seen better days. Yeah, I mean, what to say? It relies on its IFVs, and the IFVs are rubbish now. And it relied on its T-80s, and the availabilities of all those went down. And then I built it so it would rely on its Eurogun and its UGLs, because it gets 24 UGL grenade launcher cars. So the price of those all went up, and the Eurogun came down in effectiveness. So this is a pretty tough division to play right now. Spoke about the Reaper, the Conkers, and the BRDM2. And we spoke about the BTR-60. The Sturm S came down by 5 points. So this is one you don't see a lot. Just because there's better things to take in the tab. But yeah, the Kokon on the ground. I don't know many Kokons on the ground, so I think this might be the only one, actually. Might be wrong. But yeah, this thing has got the max range, but it's not as good as the Reaper anti-tank gun, because it's got higher accuracy, one less pen, but it's significantly faster. It's probably a good idea to do a comparison. Unit comparison. Sturm. Reaper. And here we see that the Bastion... Yeah, so the Kokon goes the same speed as the Milan 2, but the Bastion is ultra rapid for some reason. So, yeah, the Sturm, not so great. Get more Bastions. You might as well actually just bring a BMP3, even though the autocannon doesn't do anything. For 5 points more, you just get a better ATGM and more armor. And obviously you have to pay for the infantry. Also, the tank gun on the BMP3 is actually alright against the infantry. 10 rate of fire and everything. Obviously, the autocannon not great, but the tank gun is alright. So, I will finish this. I will finish what I started. honestly, do you ever get that feeling that it's like you're drowning, right? And then you rise above the water to like you paddle hard to get above the water, and that's playing Gmod, and you're like, wow, I'm not drowning anymore. But then that takes more energy, and then you're like back to drowning, and you're drowning worse than you were before. So, oh, this isn't working. Oh, great. Okay, where are we? 35Y. Sorry about this, guys. Sturm came down by 5 points. Nothing here, nothing here. Oh yeah, the AGS 17 went up by 10 points. It's crazy. It's just ridiculous. It's a damn shame. I think that's way too much. I think 35 was fine. I mean, it doesn't pen armor. It dies in one hit to basically anything. And yeah, that's all there is to it. Small arms can still shoot at it, and that's 45 points. MI2 and MI8 MTA came down in price. I think we spoke about this HE bomber going up. Yeah, because it was on 4th and 7th as well. RGB came down, spoke about that. SE22 spoke about that. SE24, this is the carpet bomber, spoke about that. Cluster plane went up a little bit. I think we spoke... No, this is unique to 39Y. We can't have spoken about this. SU24. So, look, I mean, I don't really bring this. Maybe you find success with it. And it's gone up in price. This is how I build my deck for 39Y, right? I've just got the SU, which has gone up, right? Yep, it went up 25 points. But the napalm one went down. Incredible. And the rocket one also went up 20 points. Yikes. 79Y, another div that's taken a beating. Same kind of reason, really. Cares about its BMP2s, they're not good anymore. Doesn't really have good infantry. I mean, the Saperi RPOs are alright, but... Conkers, BRDM2, Conkers, spoke about RU. What else? MI2, MI8, UGL, AGL, whatever, spoke about them. HE Bomber spoke about that. The Cluster 2, which is the really good one, it's actually unchanged. So you see the SU24. So this is the 39Y one, and this is the good one. So for 20 points more, your bombs are twice the size, basically. And so it's really good at killing things. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, Napalm 1 came down, spoke about that, spoke about the SUs. Oh yeah, the SU-25 HE bomber came down in price. So this is a 79Y specific one, so far anyway. And basically, this guy gets bombs. It's not very useful for the same reason the A10HE isn't useful. You have to fly directly over the target to drop these extremely slowly with your 5% ECM. It's really not great. And yeah, I think we spoke about the rocket and the napalm. And we already spoke about Berliner Grobprungs. It's finally over. It's finally over. So yeah, if you enjoy this type of video, don't tell me. Just tell me it's rubbish, and then I don't have to make one anymore. And wherever you are, I hope you're staying well hydrated and you're getting enough sleep. And I'm off to get some sleep, and I'll finish editing all this tomorrow. I make the intro first. I make the intro last, right? And then I do the patch notes first, and then I do the intro last because I'm summarizing in the intro. So it makes sense for me to do this first. But alas, we're out of time. Too much Gmodding. Anyway, best of luck. Goodbye.